Yeah. Yeah. Guess who came back with a large fucking fist to eat the Brooklyn blast furnace? I brought your ugly bitch with me. Your shit is sus. Ain't nobody trying to hear you talk. When Jimmy's on the mic, they take your whack shit and turn it off. It's real life, not them stories that you punks say. He made it out alive, and he's relatively unscathed. So subscribe to the podcast and share the post and tell your stupid friends to do the same. You heard it here from Coast.
We're up. We are recording. The long-awaited. Listen, Louie Beato is the guest here on this episode of the Brooklyn Blast Furnace. Real quick before we get into it, yes, we were just talking beforehand, but I should have said this off camera, but it doesn't make a difference. I had reached out to you, I think maybe before COVID, a couple of times, and you were super busy, but I didn't want to break your balls. I'm like, he's busy. I'm not going to break his balls. I'm just not gonna. So I figured I gave it time, probably of several years. And I'm like, you know what? I think I gave it enough time. I don't think he's going to think that I'm breaking his chops or anything like that. So I reached out to you, and I'll be honest, I was super excited when you said that you would come on, because there's probably close to 400 episodes in total of the Brooklyn Blast Furnace. And I'll honestly say that you were in the top 5 people that I've always wanted to get on here. So enough of the sappy shit. I just want to say I appreciate your time, and you're a fucking Brooklyn legend, period. So with all of that said, Louie Beato, everybody.
Hey, hey.
Hey. How you doing, brother?
Very good. How about you, Jim?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Same old shit. You know, I just got home from work a little while ago. I threw myself in the shower. I set this up. I let you know, no rush. So I'm just relaxing and doing this. I have no complaints in my life, thank God. Yeah, I don't have any more chaos in my life. Everything is good. I have a great job. I have an awesome daughter. I do my own thing. I pay my own way. I don't ask anybody for nothing. I mind my business. I don't bother anybody, and I live a good life. And I have no complaints.
That's what we all strive for, right?
Yeah, it took a while. It took me a long time, but you know, every now and then, you know, it might take a while. I used to bump my head against the wall constantly, and then I took a step back. I took a breather, and I was like, you know what? Stop being an asshole. Just take a step to the right and just walk through the door. Because it's, you know what I mean?
Just put one foot in front of the other.
That's it. You know, I'm an old school Brooklyn knucklehead. You know, and right before we pressed record, you were like, yeah, it seems like we're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
And probably, I mean, you're probably just like maybe a handful. I'm 48. So we're basically the same age.
The same. Yeah, the same. I guess you caught the tail end of it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, my time, so to speak, in the neighborhood. Let's see, I left Brooklyn in '89 when I got married. I went to Staten Island.
Okay.
But you know, I was still in and out of Brooklyn all the time, you know, at that point. But yeah, you're from Canarsie, right?
I grew up in Canarsie. Yeah, I went from Canarsie to a couple of different apartments in Canarsie. Then my parents split. I went to Rockaway for a couple of years, then back to Canarsie for a little while.
What high school did you go to?
I went to South Shore.
Oh, okay.
I went to Bildersea Junior High School, and then I went to South Shore for only a year. And then we moved. I got stuck up on my corner at gunpoint for my leather jacket.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that was always a fun day. And then and it was the same time where my stepfather's Cadillac was literally stolen right out of the driveway. And it was like the same week. And my mother came home from the store and she was going crazy and she was screaming and yelling at my stepfather, "We got to get the fuck out of here, blah, blah, blah." So we wound up moving to Howard Beach in '91. And then, but it was weird. Like, I was of a certain age. I was like, 15, 16 years old. I didn't want to leave Brooklyn. All my friends were in Brooklyn. My whole life was in Brooklyn. So
Yeah,
once I
that's a rough
started,
time.
yeah, but I had
Time
an
to
older
leave a
sister.
neighbor. Yeah.
I had an older sister, 6 years older, and so she we're only a day apart with birthdays, but 6 years, but only a day, difference in our birthday. I'm the 5th, she's the 6th of September, but I'm 75, she's 69. So she always said that when she turned 21, she's gonna bring her little brother out. So my sister used to run around all over Flatbush Avenue. So I was 15 years old doing that whole stretch on Flatbush Avenue from Vic's Moonbeam to the Cool Nest, to the Night Owl, and then everybody always winds up where? At Lenny and John's.
Lenny and John's, exactly.
Right. So I ran with all of the older people.
Yeah.
So that's why I guess I got smartened up to a lot of things because of my sister and her friends, who a lot of them at the time, way back, were friends with, she was friends with the early biohazard guys and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
I was just going to say, I think Danny went to South Shore High School.
Yeah, I think he did too.
Because he was a Canarsie guy.
Yeah, but I was only there for my freshman year, and then I went to Howard Beach. I went to school in Ozone Park, John Adams, which was not even any nicer. It was still fucking one of the first schools in the city to have metal detectors.
Really?
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
I almost went to Beach Channel, even though I lived in Brooklyn.
Really?
Beach Channel in Rockaway, because I wanted to go for their oceanography courses and everything, but I had nobody going there. There was none of my friends were going, so I wound up going to Nazareth.
No shit.
Avenue D and 57th Street.
Yeah.
Which was right near Tilden High School.
Mm-hmm.
And I always used to kick the shit out of Nazareth kids. Over there.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I gotta give a shout out to Drew Stone, because it was funny. You were wearing your Lenny and John's shirt on the Drew's thing.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I have to go back to. I have to go there because I need to buy a Lenny and John shirt if they have.
They didn't sell them. I used to work there. I used to deliver.
You delivered pizzas with Evan?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Lenny and John's had some business, especially their takeout.
Oh my God.
Delivery. They used to deliver, if you're familiar with Brooklyn, all the way from Emmons Avenue to past the junction, and from Mill Basin to where Josh lives over in Midwood.
No shit.
In fact, Josh used to always order their eggplant parm without the pasta, and we used to deliver to him all the time.
Really? That's huge.
Yeah.
Was it guys on bicycles or cars?
They had 5 delivery guys, and we never saw each other.
That's
we were out picking up an order, leaving with 5, 6 orders, out the door. In comes somebody else picking up their orders. Yeah, that place. We made some money there. I was a bus driver back then. That was toward the end of Carnivore, when we did. Actually, I think Carnivore might have just disbanded at that point. It was right after Retaliation, probably around 88 or so.
Yeah.
Echo Negative just formed, and I was picking up some extra cash. I was getting married in '89, so I was hustling, a little side hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a gold mine, because, I was just saying, on Friday nights was usually the nights that we would all be out on. At least I was out on Flatbush Avenue, because my sister knew everybody at Vic's, at the Moonbeam, whether it was bartenders or the bouncers. So on Fridays, for a while there, it's so crazy. It was $10 all you can drink with dollar shots and dollar bottles. But you can go in there and drink 16-ounce solo cups of beer all night long for $10 at the door. But my sister knew everybody, so I would go there with my knucklehead friends from both Brooklyn and Howard Beach, and there'd be 15 of us, and we wouldn't even pay the stupid $10. You know what I mean? It was ridiculous. So, but at the end, there would be 50 kids, 100, sometimes packed outside of Lenny and John's with all the drunken idiots from all the bars down the end.
It was like a club unto itself.
It really was, man. Good times. Well, to be young and stupid and carefree, man.
And remember Joe, the guy who used to make the pies there?
Yeah.
Joe, man, guy was hustling, slinging those pies, man, nonstop from like 4 o'clock in the afternoon to like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Fucking gold mine. That place was a gold mine back then.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that it's actually still open.
Yeah.
I went back there probably about a year and a half ago. I got a couple of regular slices and I got a whole shitload of rice balls because I had to have the rice balls. And they were still good.
I used to love the spaghetti and clam sauce they would make there. It was like, it wasn't even like, they made it really good. They made use fresh clams and it was good.
I don't think I ever had it. It was I was always drunk in there. Give me rice balls and sausage rolls.
Something to soak the shit up. Right?
Yeah, just soak up the nonsense. Yeah. Yeah, and when I ate the rice balls, I was like, oh, they're good. I don't know if they're as good as they used to be. They could be the same, but I was just drunk and just eating them and everything was delicious because I was hammered, back in the day.
Well, if we're going to talk rice balls, and I'm sure we're going to talk food,
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But rice balls, the best rice balls in Brooklyn was Joseph Avenue U.
Yeah, I was there not that long ago.
You kidding me?
I live in Bay Ridge.
I missed that. They had the rice ball special. With the and the Parmesan cheese and the sauce. The Parnell sandwiches. Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
They had one in Staten Island for a while. And
really?
It was, but I think they closed shortly after I left when I went to Jersey.
Yeah.
You're in Jersey now, right?
No, I'm in Bay Ridge.
You're in Bay Ridge still?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm on 80th between 5th and 6th. I'm in Bay Ridge.
Oh, because I saw you had a 732 exchange on your phone.
That was when I first moved to Jersey in 2007. I had that number since.
Oh, okay.
So I moved to Jersey and I met my ex-wife, who's the mother of my kid, and I had the number since 2007. Everyone has it, so it's just 732.
Yeah, right. Yeah, same thing. Same here. I mean, I'm in Florida now. Yeah, I still got my 732 number.
Yeah, I'm not getting rid of it.
When I go to Jersey Mike's here in Florida, and I put my phone number in, they go, "Oh, you're an original."
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
That's right. You're down in Florida. I was gonna say because I'm thinking maybe you were in Staten Island, but now I know you're in Florida.
I did the typical Brooklyn, thing. I went from Brooklyn,
Staten Island
to Jersey.
And
now, if you lived in Queens, you go to Long Island, right? That's usually what people do, right?
Yep, 100%. So you went to Jersey and then you went to Florida. Oh, you did the very typical thing.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty far down. I was in the central, like the Jersey Shore area by Point Pleasant. I was in Brick.
Okay, yeah, I know where it is.
Yeah, I was there for like 19 years.
Really? Yeah, my daughter and my ex-wife, they live. It's not that far down, but they live in Middlesex County. They live in Aberdeen, Matawan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like central. It's like 118 off the Garden State. It's like 40 minutes from me. Nothing. Yeah. It's not really that bad. But I used to go down to like Cherry Hill, all the way down, pretty often for like horror conventions and shit. Yeah, so I'm familiar.
Yeah, I saw that you were into that. Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Horror stuff. Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Listen, it's fun. A lot of people are like, oh, you go to horror conventions? That must be crazy. I'm like, nah, man. Like everyone is super cool. And it's a nostalgia thing for me. I grew up watching all those stupid 80s friggin' slasher movies and shit like that. But so you go there and like these actors, and they don't work a lot anymore or anything. And if they do, it's some low budget shitty movie. But you go there and you pay the guy $20-$30, you take a picture, you get a signed autograph, you bullshit. It's just like a nostalgia. Like I never thought I would be sitting there bullshitting with I'm a horror nerd. So it would be like, Jason from Friday 13th Part 2. You know what I mean? Like me, I think that's awesome. Some people don't give a shit, but it just brings me back to when I was 6 years old watching these stupid movies. Like, wow, it's kind of cool that I get to meet this guy and shake his hand. I don't know, it's just stupid shit, but
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun shit. Yeah, you make a whole weekend out of it.
I heard you say that you were talking with Paris and you said that one of your favorite movies was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The original, yeah.
The original. And it's funny because me and Pete used to go all the time. He was a big horror guy too.
Yeah,
Go to all the horror movies, the B movies, like the real shit movies.
the best.
And I remember when I met my wife, or I'm still married to, back in the day. One of our first dates was like a double date that me and Pete and my wife and his girlfriend went to go see Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I didn't know anything about her really at this point. So, I was just doing my thing and taking her to a movie, right? So I find out later on, actually in the movie, when she's clawing my arm and burying her head into my arm, that like, you don't like this stuff, huh? I hate horror movies.
Oh my God.
She goes, I can't, I'll be dreaming about this for a week. She says.
Hey, look, listen, you made up because you didn't run for the hills.
So it was funny because that movie always, is very reminiscent of when I first met my wife, Texas.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. And like, I do this whole film location type thing. I go all over the place in my spare time. I go on road trips and shit. I've been to several like filming locations from that movie down in Texas. Like,
wow.
Yeah, like they converted the like the gas station that they pull into earlier in the movie. Like someone rebought that and refurbished it to exactly how it's like in the movie. And it's like a horror gift shop. And in the back, they built like 6 cabins. So you could stay there overnight. So I did that like 2 years ago. It was cool, like small little cabin. And in the morning, you just open up the door and you're like, I could picture Leatherface just chasing this girl over. Like, how am I here right now? This is just cool shit, And the house, the original house, it was like 2 towns over. And what they did, I don't know how they did it so perfectly, but they cut the house up in like 7 pieces and they moved it to Kingsland, Texas, and they rebuilt it. I'm talking, Louie, it's like the molding on the inside of the windows, everything is to a T like the movie. And it's a restaurant now. Wow. So it's a restaurant. So amongst our travels, I was with my ex-girlfriend at the time. We were driving through and they were closed. And I was like, oh man. So I'm taking pictures on the outside. And then I heard a couple of people, there's like this, there's like a deck that they built. They built a bar like onto it. And there's a couple of guys, I guess they had just gotten off their shift. And me being me, I don't care. I walk over, how you doing? Introduce myself. I talked to them like I knew them for 20 years. And I told them why we were there and I wanted to possibly go inside. And there was a husband and a wife that owned it. And they came out and I told them exactly why we were there. And they were closed. They were like, go ahead, walk around. Go do your thing. So I was like, dude, I had like a moment. I had chills because it's exactly like it. So I'm walking with the owner and I didn't walk into the front door. I walked through this back door from the bar. And the first time that I was actually in the actual physical Texas Chainsaw Massacre house, I stopped and I'm looking and I look at the owner and I just got chills. I'm like, am I standing where I think I'm standing? And he looks at me and he smiles. He goes, yeah, buddy. And I was standing exactly in the spot the first time you see Leatherface, where he raises the hammer and cracks the guy for the first time. I'm standing right there. And I'm just like, this is so crazy. And we were walking, he was showing me, yeah, this is the room, but this happened and this happened. And also, I'll send you a couple of things. You can probably see it on my Facebook. I'll take a photo at the right angle of a screenshot that I'll take from a movie.
Yeah.
And I'll take the screenshot and I'll superimpose it and line it up exactly where I was. So I did that all over this house. It's just something that I found through actually from Danny Boy from the rap group House of Pain. He started this whole thing when he bought the house from the movie The Outsiders from 1982. He bought that house and he created a museum and he started this whole location thing. I happen to be the New York guy. So it's a great hobby to get the hell out of here. And even like in New York, you live in New York, it's a playground. It's never ending of things that happened here and shit like that, from true crime stuff and everything. So it's something I love to do.
So since you are into this stuff, there was, I don't know, this house in Point Pleasant supposedly was the house for the Amityville
Horror. Tom's River. It's right Tom's River.
So even though this, you sure Tom's River, not Point Pleasant?
It could be Point Pleasant because I've been to the house in Amityville, New York. That was the one where the murders actually happened. But the one down in South Jersey is the house they used to film the movie.
Okay, I think it might be Point Pleasant because I remember.
It could be. It very well could be.
I remember seeing those windows.
Yes.
Exactly like in the movie, like
Yes.
That movie that had an impact.
Oh yeah. And the actual house in Amityville, it had the windows too, but the owner, it's changed owners so many times, but they since removed those windows. They're just regular windows now.
Yeah, because I saw something about that, and I was like, that's why I was confused. I said, according to this article or whatever it was that I saw online, it said, that they redesigned the outside and they took the windows out, and I'm going, that doesn't look like the same one that I remember that was in Point Pleasant that was supposedly. So I guess they did it in both locations or whatever.
Yeah. The one in Amityville was where the actual crimes happened, and they I guess they couldn't film the movie there. They filmed it in a very, very similar house down in South Jersey.
Yeah, they do that. Like, here's one for you. Not a horror movie, but
fine.
My in-laws, my father-in-law, and my brother-in-law, they used to restore and have antique cars.
Okay.
Like 1936 Cadillacs, and they had my one brother-in-law had, I think it was a 1943 Buick, and they used to get solicited for movies to have them be part of, like, the street scenes or whatever.
Yeah.
So there was an opportunity, or he was obligated to do this movie, and it was up in New Rochelle.
Okay.
And he wasn't able to make it, so he asked me to do it. He says, they'll pay you like, I don't know, it was like maybe $200 for the day. You got to get there like 7:00 in the morning. You'll be there the whole day. They'll feed you. You'll just move the car from here to there, wherever they want the car to be positioned for the movie and this and that. And I had no idea what movie it was. I get there, we, bunch of other guys with their cars, and we parking the cars we start out on this residential block, and there lots of time, how you can imagine, just to set up one scene it could take hours or whatever, right? And I briefly see some of the actors, and I'm like, what is this movie, what, and they were like, I don't know, it's I think it's called Wise Guys, they're called, the name of the movie. So I'm going, okay. So we're watching it get filmed, and then they have us move the car to a parking lot, and then to some other spot, and and the day was over. I finished it and I left, and never heard anything about it for like, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 years.
Until about 1990.
Yeah.
Go
to the movies, and I learned that it's Goodfellas.
Yep, I knew it.
And I was like, holy shit, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I didn't see Robert De Niro.
Right.
The only actor I saw was Lorraine Bracco and
Ray Liotta.
I
know what street you were on.
I saw the scene, like they filmed it like 14 times, when he marches into the neighbor's driveway and starts smacking him in the head with the gun.
Hey, Louie, you were on Alfred Lane.
Oh, well, here's the thing, but that was supposed to be, I think.
I've been there.
It was supposed to be Long Island or something, but it was actually New Rochelle. That's the point. Like, and it was funny what they did. Like, so what's her name? Karen's house, right?
Yeah.
To make it look like it aged.
Yeah.
They had plants that like were in front of the house that were like, small. And then they came out, they ripped them out. They put the bigger ones in later on.
Yeah, man.
The grass wasn't green enough. They started spray painting it green.
Crazy. That was the first time. It's so funny that you just said that. As soon as you said New Rochelle, I went, I have a feeling he's going to say Goodfellas, because I go around doing this shit all over the place. I must have hit about close to 30 Goodfellas locations in Near's. Yeah. So I was coming back from like Connecticut or something. I was on a mission going somewhere else, and I was on my way, and I had it in my phone. I was like, I got to go there. So I throw it in my GPS, and it says make a left on Alfred Lane. And I make the left, and it's a residential block. As you were talking, I had it in my head. And I go, and I stop. It says your destination is on the left. I think it's 14 and 17 Alfred Lane across the street from each other. And I stopped. There's nobody out there. I got out of my truck, and I stood in the middle of the street, and I looked at Karen's mother's house, and I looked at the house where Ray Liotta pistol whips the guy in the driveway, and I had chills. I was like, I'm on the set of Goodfellas right now.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome, dude. That's why I do this shit. I love that stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I mean, to think that I was like, I mean, who knew that it was going to become the classic that it is,
Right.
And to be able to say I had a little part in it, like,
that's
cool.
such a crazy small world. That's awesome. Like, who would have thought? I would never think that.
Yeah.
Very fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, we could talk about that kind of shit all day long. I could babble about that shit for hours, man. That's what I do after work, make sure everything is good with my daughter and all that shit. Whenever I get free time, I go somewhere. Even if it's like in like 2 weeks from now, I'm going to Vermont. I've never been to Vermont. I'm going to this like Viking. It's like a Viking resort. There's like 6 cabins. And I'm like, that's what I want. I want like a log fucking cabin with no cell phone service. And like just everyone just shut up and just quiet. And of course, every time I go somewhere, I have to look for a place, movies filmed in, blah, 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 blah. So I found a couple of spots that I'm going to go find. The stupid movie Beetlejuice was filmed like a half hour from where I'm staying. And the movie with Chevy Chase, that movie Funny Farm from the 80s, was filmed like right there. So I'm going to go there. I'll take my stupid little pictures and get out and see Vermont a little bit. Solo trip, completely by myself. Nice.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, just to get the hell out of here. It's only like 3.5 hour drive. It's like southern Vermont, nothing crazy. And that's what I'm going to do.
We used to go up by Mount Snow and Brattleboro. I think there was a couple of bed and breakfast places that we used to go to. I have a travel trailer. So my wife and I, we started, with the kids, but now they're not interested in coming. My kids are almost all grown. So now it's just me and her. And now that we live in Florida, we get to go like all year round. So, as a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I was over by where Sal was living from, Sal from Pale Horse. And,
Typo, Life of Agony, Pale Horse.
Yeah. So me and him, we actually hooked up I guess it was around this time last year, actually, because we were camping near him, and we went for a visit with him at his house. We jammed a little bit, it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then this about 2 weeks ago, we were up in Jacksonville, which I was really surprised. We liked it a lot. I mean, it's usually a city or a town that you just kind of drive through on your way, to Orlando. But we actually stayed at a state park not far from Jacksonville itself. And we got there kind of late on a Friday, and then we decided to go out to eat, and we wound up in like some area that was like a real, hopping like nightlife area, a lot of restaurants, live music. I get drawn to live music like a moth to flame. So
nice.
We gave our name to there's this Chinese restaurant called Hawkers. They told me 45 minutes. I said, okay, we'll go across the street to where the music is.
Yeah.
And then when they page me, so I get into the bar, and it's like 10 minutes later, they're telling me my table's ready. I was like, oh, too bad. I already got a drink in my hand. And the band is playing Comfortably Numb right now, so I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, I'm not going nowhere. This is perfect right now. That's great, man. Shit. Yeah, so now you just mentioned Comfortably Numb, and before we were rolling, it's like, oh yeah, who are your influences? Every drummer is gonna say fucking John Bonham. We already know this. But I just want to touch a little bit on a few things. The first thing, well, I couldn't, like I said also before we recorded, I know a lot about the bands and the records and all that stuff. But there's a couple of things that I did do a little bit of research for, a little bit. That didn't really go deep, but I scratched the surface on a few things. But one of the things I did do, and I sent it to you, I looked up the Fallout 7-inch.
Yeah.
And one of the second thing that came up, it was Fallout, and the 7-inch is available on Discogs. And I looked, and the asking price is like $8,700, almost $9,000. I sent it to you. I was like, almost $9,000 on Discogs. What is that about? That's crazy.
It is. Well, the original single that we had pressed only had, I think, like 500 copies. So I think, I have seen I guess bootlegs or seconds of it, because the original have the regular 45,
The
big
hole.
hole in the middle.
Yeah, the big hole.
I saw somebody post online, a fairly decent, well, actually a pristine copy of it, but it had like the small hole.
Small hole.
And I'm like, yeah, that's not the original one.
Right.
But so somebody made copies of it or whatever. But that was that was our when Fallout was a band, there were no original bands. You couldn't get a gig in clubs back in 1980.
80, 81. Yeah, that came out in 80. That I think you released that in 81.
Yeah, so you couldn't get a gig. Not even Twisted Sister was playing.
Very true.
Originals when I remember when Twisted Sister was playing Lemoore every Thursday night.
Yeah.
And they played AC/DC, they played Judas Priest.
I was gonna say Priest.
They played, and then every now and then we got one under the blade we're gonna do,
Yeah.
They sneak that in there, and and then they'll play some Sabbath and something else, and then here's another one for you. We're not gonna take it,
Yeah. Something like that.
And unless you could prove that you had a following that was going to fill the club, you just couldn't get a gig,
Right.
So Fallout was a very unique band, because it was all original.
Yeah.
We didn't play any covers. I mean, we jammed, we liked Sabbath, we jammed with stuff, just fooling around, and when we were, but we didn't even play like a cover tune really. When we did get a gig, and our gigs were at high schools. We played 2001 Odyssey, where Saturday Night Fever was filmed.
Really?
Oh yeah, we played there a couple times, and then our big break was when we opened for Twisted Sister there.
No shit.
Yeah. And that was the night when Twisted Sister came out. Well, so I heard, because I was only 16 at the time, and my parents wouldn't let me stay to see Twisted Sister. Can you believe it? I played there. I played the gig, but as soon as it was over, my father was waiting for me outside.
Oh man!
I had to bring my drums, get in the car, and he wouldn't let me stay. So anyway,
fucking parents.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man.
So here we are now, but I hear that they had, the disco was dead. That was when like Rock Sucks, Disco Stupid.
Yeah.
And they came out with a coffin with all the disco records, and they started flinging them into the audience, and
shit,
stuff, and they were having a good time.
And you missed it.
And I missed that. But what was funny was after that, Fallout was very big into self-promotion. Yeah. I think if you go on Kings Highway somewhere, you might be able to find a flyer.
A flyer still somewhere stapled to a telephone pole.
No, that's probably rubber cemented and has like like an X-ray image on the side of a building. We used to go up and down all the avenues plastering these flyers for whatever gig that we had.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were contacted by Twisted Sister's management with a cease and desist, because we were putting on the flyers former opening band of Twisted Sister.
Oh my gosh! Shit!
And then D. Snyder was actually the one. D was actually the one that said, "Hey, leave them alone." We would have done the same thing.
Yeah, really. I was gonna say, really, a cease and desist. Like, yo, give us a break here. We're breaking
Yeah,
our ass. Like,
yeah, yeah,
it's a flyer. Leave me alone.
yeah.
Unfucking real. So I
Yeah.
do have a stupid question. Who's the girl on the front of the 7-inch cover with the gas mask on? Did you divulge that
Um,
info?
she was a friend of the band.
Okay. All right.
She was some friend of the band that was comfortable enough to do that.
Mm,
You know,
yeah, I guess. All right.
that's how it goes when you have it's like, when you're in a band, it's like, it's like you have an entourage almost. Like, you're all friends.
Yeah.
You're best friends with the guys that help you, that are your roadies. They'll give you the shirt off their back. They're loyal. You're tight. You're all like a band of brothers.
Yeah.
And there's their girlfriends, and everybody's friendly and friends with each other, and who knows who. And you want to be part of this thing. And next thing you know, you got someone volunteering to
Yeah. To be on an album cover. Maybe she thought that was like her big break. She's gonna be famous.
No, I don't think so. I think
Huh?
she did it for the, she was a good sport.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I was curious. Like, I don't know. I figured.
It wasn't like we hired somebody.
No, I figured that. I figured,
Yeah.
I figured it was like maybe like Pete's ex-girlfriend or some shit. I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
As a matter of fact, back then, truth be told, Pete wasn't much of a ladies' man back in the early days.
No?
When we were in Fallout, Pete didn't even have a girlfriend.
All right.
It was, well, actually, no. Toward the end of Fallout is when he basically had his first girlfriend,
Okay.
who actually introduced me to my wife.
Okay.
Yeah, they went to Dewey together.
All right. That's
In
cool.
fact, that's how they got to know of us, because we played Dewey High School. We played Dewey High School a couple times.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sure you guys play like in the New York Hardcore Chronicles. Like you guys mentioned Zappas, and I'm from Brooklyn. I never even heard of that place for some reason.
Really, that's my neighborhood.
I know. I don't know why I never heard of it. I'm like, really? Like, I never heard of it. I have no idea why.
You had, let's see, Zappas actually existed in two separate locations on the same block. There was a club there, that it was a club for like forever. I remember it as the Camelot Inn. I'm really aging myself now. It was a club actually before that some people on the Facebook page 11N would be able to tell you what it is, but I can't remember the name of it. But so that after the Camelot Inn, I think it became Zapp's, or it was also called Fantasy Island at one time.
Okay.
It was like, kind of like a dance club, and then they had bands on certain nights. A lot of these places started out as dance clubs, disco. The truth is, disco did suck, and rock outlasted disco, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, Lemoore is living proof of that, right? Well,
yeah,
Lemoore, but Lemoore was a dance club that started introducing rock on certain nights, and then
that's it. Rock capital.
Even this place. Remember? I don't remember Danceteria.
I do remember that. Where'd you get that one from?
I actually found it online. I was like, "Holy shit! Yeah,
really?
I'll get that." That's
yeah, why not?
Not too many people have that one. I see everybody.
No, definitely not.
It's funny, CBGB shirts. Everyone's wearing them now.
Oh
right?
God, yeah.
So my daughter is wearing one, right? She's at a lunch with her company. They had some occasion or whatever, and she was wearing a CBGB shirt. Somebody comes up to her and says, "Do you even know where that is?"
Oh my God. Do you even know who you're talking to right now?
She says, "Yeah, I know where it is. Do you?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where it is. It's not there anymore. And she says, "Yeah, it's not there anymore." But she goes, "Did you ever go there? You look like you're too young to go there." She said, "No, I never did. But my dad did."
Uh-huh. My father used to play there all the time.
So, yeah, she got into that conversation, and it turned out this woman's husband does podcasts also,
Okay.
I don't know who, I can't remember his name, but right away, she was like, hey, hold on. My husband would be interested in talking to your dad, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so she gets on the phone with me. She tells me like a brief. I says, forget her. I was like, she came up to you like this. Now she wants you to do something for her.
Right. Yeah, she came over to you, approached you like an asshole, like you didn't know
Yeah.
nothing. And then she got put in her place, and now you want a favor.
Right. Get lost.
Oh, that's fucking funny, man. Shit. So how did you actually meet Pete?
Well, it was a Fallout audition. I was looking for a bass player for my band. I had a garage band at the time. And
What was the name of the band?
Caucus.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was really, it didn't actually, I think the furthest we went from my garage was across the street, PS 222, because that's where I lived on East 33rd. And we used to practice in their auditorium when, because my neighbors were getting, aggravated with all the noise.
East 33rd and where?
P and Quentin.
Okay, because my sister had an apartment. I used to hang out in the early 91, 92. She lived on 33rd and S, above Banner, Glass, and Mirror.
Banner, Glass, and Mirror. My mother used to work there.
Get the fuck out. What year?
Oh, my God. Going back. Let's see. She worked there.
That's crazy.
Definitely 80. As a matter of fact, Banner, Glass, and Mirror, their son is a dentist. And he was my dentist on where was he on? Bay Parkway and 86th Street.
Okay.
There was a dental office there, and he was the dentist. And it was funny because I didn't know that. And I'm sitting in the chair one day, getting whacked on the gas, and he comes in and he goes, "Hey, I know your mother." And I thought he was fucking with me.
I would too.
Yeah, I'm laughing. Yeah, right. Yeah. He goes, "No, really." And he takes the gas. He goes, "You're fucking whacked out." He goes, takes the gas off. He goes, "Straight up a second. I gotta talk to you. Your mother, she works at Banner Glass, right?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "That's my family. My family owns that business." I was like, "Oh shit."
That's so great. What are the chances of that, too? My sister and her crazy friend Laura rented the apartment upstairs. It was gigantic. It had a Florida room in the back and everything.
Wow.
That place was like legendary. There was house parties, crazy in there.
Wow.
As soon as you said 33rd Street, I'm like, 33rd Street, hold on, what avenue?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not there no more. But I actually, because a whole different side topic, I'm actually writing a whole book. I'm writing a whole, I'm like more than 3/4. I have 4 more years to write about. I'm writing like my own book. But I Google Earth that whole thing, and the Florida room is gone. I was a little disappointed when I saw the satellite view. I'm like, damn it. But yeah, man, 33rd, that's right across from Met Food. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
go on. Sorry, man. Sorry.
I went to Sam Ash to look for, it was before internet and all that. You either looked in the Village Voice,
yeah,
or what was it? The other one, the Long Island paper. I forget that one. Good Times or something like that. I don't know. But most often, you just go to your local music store. They have a bulletin board.
Yeah.
You look for musicians available, right?
Yeah.
And this was at Sam Ash on Coney Island Avenue and Kings Highway.
Yeah.
And there's a couple names and of available bass players, but then I see a postcard that says wanted psychotic hyperactive drummer to complete 4-piece metal band Fallout. And it had a phone number, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. I says, I'm already got these guys, that I'm playing with. I don't want to, and then on the way home, so I took the number. I'm on the way home, and now I'm putting it together with the flyers I'm seeing all up and down Kings Highway. This is the band Fallout. Holy shit! Look at this. This is their flyers. They're out there playing already. Yeah. They just need a drummer to complete this thing, and they'll be working. And I was like, my band, we got a long way to go, And I felt bad because my best friend at the time was playing bass. I talked him into getting a bass, taking lessons, joining the band, and it just wasn't happening fast enough.
Yeah.
And I knew I needed to get somebody a little more tight, And I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll call this Fallout band and see if they're interested in auditioning me. This way I don't have to hurt my friends' feelings.
True. Yeah.
And I called the number, and it was Pete's number. And Pete was like, deep voice on the phone. You know?
Of course. Yeah, I could picture it in my head.
Lurch, from
Lurch.
the Adams family,
Yeah.
And I was like, so we hit it off really well. Like right from our phone conversation, we were on the phone for like about an hour. Just like where you're from, what school you go to. I told him I went to Nazareth, and he goes, "Oh, maybe you know my guitarist, John Campos." I go, "John Campos?" I said, "He's in this band?"
Wow.
He says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I don't think he goes to that school." I said, "No, he doesn't go to the school anymore, but he was like a legend." He would come out onto, in the back of the school by where the track was with his acoustic guitar and play like Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and
Rolling Stones. Yeah.
Yeah. Like all, yeah, man, like all those great acoustic, like, Over the Hills and Far Away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great shit, and like you'd just be watching him, and the drool would just be dripping out.
Yeah, this guy's like a fucking genius. Yeah.
Holy shit. And I was like, well, as soon as I found out he was in the band, I was like, wow, I can't wait to come and
Yeah.
I'd love to play with this guy. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
And then I went, made the appointment. I showed up at Josh's house, which was right down the block from where Pete lived. They lived on the same block. And there was, Josh had like a studio rehearsal space in his basement. And
was it the first? Well, did you know Josh beforehand?
No, not at all.
First time you meet him?
This is becoming infamous because the first impression I had of Josh was that he was a prick, because he answers the door and he goes, "You the drummer?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Around the back."
Oh fuck!
There was no like, "Hello, how you doing?"
Yeah.
This is like very cut and dry, like
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a small little 4-piece Gretsch set that I bring around the back and tell my dad, "All right, I don't know, Dad, I'll give you a call if I need you to come pick." I was like 15 at the time. And, I get down in the basement, and like I said, the whole entourage was there. The roadies, the girlfriends, everybody was there.
Oh, it's all eyes on you. You are not.
Yeah, all the eyes are on me, and I'm setting up my shit, like sweating and stuff. And
the pressure was on.
And then actually, the first impression was walking through the basement door and seeing Pete there for the first time.
Fucking giant.
I mean, unreal.
Yeah.
Like distractingly large.
Yeah.
The kind of large, like, "Oh no, yeah, he's big." No, like you fucking why didn't you fucking warn me that you were?
Right.
At least I could be prepared. I mean, I kind of had a clue maybe with your voice, but not like the Jolly Green Giant.
Yeah, really.
He could barely fucking hold his head up in the basement, So, we set up, we started jamming, we really didn't have anything prearranged. We just said, "What do you know?" I know some Sabbath, I know Zeppelin, I know this. And we jammed on a few things. And then they actually started playing like some of their original material and just asked me to play along to it. And I did. And then, I don't know, maybe it was like a half hour or so. And then they went upstairs. They said, "All right, we'll be down in a minute. And, let you know."
They had their little band meeting.
They had a little band meeting. They go upstairs, the three of them, and the roadies are like, "Dude, you're so in. Holy shit, you blew them a fucking way." I was like, "Yeah, you think? Yeah." Fucking shaking my hand and going, "Yeah, you're in, man. You're in. I know you're in. It'd be fucking stupid not to thank you." I was like, "That's
right. It works out."
Yeah, so like a few minutes later, they came down and said, "We'd like to have you in the band."
Nice.
We rehearsed 2 or 3 times a week, blah blah blah. And it was just, the rest was history, and
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It was really purely because of an audition that I met them, but it totally changed my life like for the rest of my life.
Dude,
Really.
yeah, I mean, it's 2024 and we're talking about it.
I know. Yeah. It's just,
Yeah.
it really put me, it just opened my life up,
Yeah, man. That's gotta be a great feeling for you. Like to start out there and then Carnivore, and it was relatively short-lived, which is unfortunate. But those two, like the Fallout thing and those two Carnivore records, especially those Carnivore records, man, people, I mean, I still listen to that shit more often than not. You know what I mean? Both records. It's
it's a shame though, Jimmy. I can't, it's unbelievable that, it took the success of Typo Negative
yeah.
for it to get recognized.
Yeah,
And
it's a shame.
It's because back in the day, it was like, it was like you had like an enlightenment about music that you just wanted to share with people, not because you were looking for a pat on the back or anything, because you really were a fan of it yourself. You were like,
right,
you understood how clever the lyric. Like I remember when we were putting press kits together.
Yeah,
Keith was very much it. I got something. This is something I dug up. You probably it's in backwards right now.
wow. No, I see it normal.
So, okay.
Wow.
So this is an example of something that Keith would put together to create a press kit for
From the land what does it say? From the land beyond the north wind comes Carnivore, nuclear powered metal. That is fucking awesome, dude.
right.
I love that over the top. It's so good.
Well, yeah, that was what we were over.
I love
that was the thing. It was like, we were over the top, like to a ridiculous level, like
which makes it awesome.
Ridiculous, not quite as ridiculous as Guar, of course.
Right. Oh God, yeah.
But it was fantasy. It was, it was like, it had to be bigger, it had to be louder, it had to be obnoxious.
Yeah.
And if you understood the irony in that, and that even the lyrics were like that,
Yeah.
It's the clever puns that were in the songs that, had to have the, the listener or the reader of the lyrics realize that we weren't taking ourselves serious.
Right. It's a lot of it is so tongue in cheek, and so much of it though, people just like take it literally. Like,
well, that's the thing. I mean, I was
like, dude, settle down.
Saying, that was Pete. That was Pete. That was, Pete evolved so like, like rapidly in as far as his, I guess personally and musically,
Sure.
and at in the Carnivore time, he was angry.
Yeah.
A lot of anger,
Sure.
and he expressed it through his music. So, he was into the shock and awe of capturing people's attention, whatever grabs them. Like, he was like the Howard Stern of heavy metal.
Yeah.
And that's why, titles like God is Dead.
Yeah.
Jesus Hitler.
Jesus Hitler. I was gonna say, race war. It's like, but people also have to understand, like the first Carnival record came out in 1985. It's like, it's not now. It's like you have to. It's a completely different world, and like, people don't.
But even then, but even now, the lyrics are applicable to what's going on in the world now. It's almost like he was like a Nostradamus or something.
Yeah.
It was like, who would have thought? I mean, you read, if you actually comprehend the lyrics to Race War, it's very relevant to what's happening now.
Muslims against Christians, the Arabs versus Jews. What's happening right now? It's like literally as we speak.
Yeah. So it's, it's timeless.
It is.
So
it's the brutal truth.
And like I said, it's a shame that it didn't. I'll tell you what, I was thinking about this, and I was watching something with Charlie Benante. It was a video. He was showing his drums for the Pantera tour, and it was a drummer's work. Not what do you call it? Not drummers workshop. Modern Drummer. Modern Drummer did like a little like video, for him to like explain the whole kit that he was using and stuff. And I remember when Carnivore, Overkill, Anthrax, we were kind of like all in the same pool, like as far as like the audience that we would draw.
Sure.
And I remember realizing back then our biggest mistake was signing to Roadrunner. I really wished, and we really tried to get Johnny Z interested in us. We really wanted to be on Megaforce, because everybody that got signed to Megaforce, went a lot further than we did. Right. And I feel like with the wit that we had, and I don't know why we didn't appeal to Johnny Z. I just don't know. I don't understand.
I don't know why either.
I wished he would have picked us up, because I think things would have taken off a lot quicker for us. And that was the thing, it didn't move fast enough, and we weren't getting any younger. Life was taking over. I got a job with the city. Pete got a job with the city.
Yeah.
It was becoming more of a back burner thing than it was really a priority in our life.
Yeah, Johnny Z would have done it. Would have been a completely different story, I think. And I'm super fortunate. I'm grateful that I had him on here.
Oh,
I had Johnny Z on here. I had hit him up on Facebook. I had hit up so many people. Just listen, I'm not shy to ask. Once, if you say no, cool. So I shot him a message one day, and he was like, "Yeah, maybe. Why don't you send me an episode so I can hear it first?" So I was like, "All right, he's Johnny Z." So I'm like, you know what? Who was signed on Megaforce that I had on? I was like, all right, I'm gonna send him the Sean Killian episode, the singer for that band Violence from the Bay Area. I'll send him that. And then I sent him my phone number. Like 2 weeks later, my phone rings. I don't have it in my phone, so it's just a number. I'm like, yeah, hello. He's like, yeah, is this Jimmy? I'm like, yeah, who's this? He's like, oh, it's Johnny Z. I almost dropped my fucking phone. I'm like, I grew up listening to all those early metal bands. I was like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, I think you're crazy enough to have a conversation with me. I'll do your show. I was like, all right, cool. Like, when are we going to do it? And there was a shit, because I had a great time talking with him. He sent me for free an autographed copy of his book afterwards. He thanked me for having him on my show. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense to me. But, and then like maybe 6 months later, he passed away. And I'm like, damn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like 6 months later. And then like less than a year later, Marsha passed away, his wife.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I was like, damn. I was like, I'm glad I had that opportunity to have him on. But
that's good.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I was fortunate. Like, I love all this shit. I don't make a dime doing this shit. I do this stuff because I love talking about this kind of stuff in Brooklyn and bullshit. Banner, Glass, and Mirror, that blew my mind. Like I never would have known that. Like, this is awesome,
It's funny.
But, yeah, hilarious. So yeah, I was super fortunate to have him on. But yeah, if I don't know why he wouldn't be interested in Carnivore either, man.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's funny. It's like he definitely knew of us.
Yeah,
I remember the time we played with Raven at Lemoore, who were complete pricks to us. They took up the whole stage with the lamps and stuff like this, and left us no room on the stage. Man, that was one thing that's the thing. I always say this too.
Rockstar bullshit.
The rock star bullshit with metal. The thing. And I think, like I said, I heard you talking to Paris, and you were like, more into metal than you knew about punk and stuff. Your first fascination was with metal, right?
Yeah.
Same here. But what really appealed to me about hardcore punk, I felt like the camaraderie, the brotherhood, and the looking out for each other kind of thing.
100%.
With the hardcore family is so much more prevalent. I mean, I think they rubbed off on the metal, especially like the more underground metal, but like the more like glam they were, the more like, they were like enamored with this whole status of being like a rock star.
Bunch of fucking prima donnas.
And climbing their way to the top and stepping on people in the process and this and that, and there's a few bands that stick out in my head, and I think about that Raven show. I mean, there's actually footage of that show on YouTube.
Really?
You can see Keith shaking his. You could see Keith on the ramp. Rob Wacko Hunter in the sidelines shaking his fist at Keith, like, get the fuck off our ramps. Keith turns around and gives him the finger, turns around back to him and keeps playing the guitar. Last fucking chord of that show. Keith takes his guitar off, flies off to the stage, body slams Wacko, rolls down the stairs, fucking fight, ensues.
Fuck. And Keith wasn't a little dude.
Keith was a fucking maniac.
He's like a Neanderthal.
Yeah. He was like a bear, fucking like just flying down the stairs at Wacko. I think he shocked the shit out of him.
Yeah.
When the smoke cleared and everything settled, Johnny Z sent a case of beer down to us to apologize because they were fucked up. They were wrong. They shouldn't have been like, Lamar wasn't a huge stage.
No.
You had this fucking, you come in with this like stadium fucking gear.
Yeah.
For a small club, and now you expect us to just like,
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I was playing just a small 4-piece kit back then.
Yeah, your shit is huge, ridiculous. Yeah.
So
26-inch kick drum, like what? Yeah, giant.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
The only other time something like that happened to us was with Overkill back in the day. We played with Venom at the Ritz, I think it was.
Okay, yeah.
And
Boy fought on that bill too.
I don't know if Venom played 2 nights, and it was us and Overkill one night, and somebody else the other night. I forget.
Okay.
But all I know is, Venom had their shit set up. Overkill set their drum riser in front of Venom's, and then they were like done with their sound check, and it was like, okay, you could set your shit up now. I'm like, where? Where am I supposed to set my shit up?
Yeah.
In front of us. In front of you, there's like 4 feet of stage space. No, I was like, I have my own drum riser. Take your shit down. I'll put mine up.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh no, we're not moving our stuff. I was like, okay, I'll move it.
Yeah.
Go over. I start taking the drums off. They're like, what the fuck? I was like, someone's moving these drums. If it ain't you, it's going to be me.
Yeah. Because I'm fucking playing and you're being an asshole.
Exactly. And we settled it, but
yeah.
Again, I mean, and to this day, I mean, I wouldn't, it was just that time of, I guess, it was that time, the 80s, it was like that was just the way, people back then.
Young, got a little bit of an ego, fucking.
Yeah, it was like a pissing contest, right?
Of course. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Fuck. Fucking crazy. So then Fallout falls apart. Josh goes.
Fallout splits in half, actually.
Right. So, if it splits in half, right. Because
Josh and John, they form Original Sin.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then me and Pete formed Carnivore.
And then enter Keith Alexander. And then you get in touch with Norman Dunn, right?
Actually, it was Connie Barrett who got in touch with Norman Dunn. Connie Barrett was our manager, who was introduced to us by Richard Termini, who was a good friend of the band. He was in a band called Dune. He recorded the Fallout single, Richard Termini. He was the producer of that record. And he was a big fan of Fallout. And then he kind of, stayed friendly with us after Fallout. And he was a really skilled photographer too. So he did, as a matter of fact, fun fact, Richard Termini played keyboards on Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. That's his claim to fame.
Okay.
But during or before that or whatever, he did that infamous Carnivore shoot with all the the spikes and fur and stuff
Yes.
at the creek on Avenue U.
On Avenue U. I actually, you know what's funny? I'll send it to you when we're done. I'll text it to you. I don't know if I have the exact spot, but I did my location shit with one of those pictures. And
I don't think
it's not easy to access.
Yeah, you can't get in there now, like really.
I did it like
you used to be able to. First of all, I grew up in that place.
Oh yeah,
it was so funny because I remember saying I got the perfect place for us to take pictures.
Yeah, perfect.
Pete never knew it existed.
Really?
How the fuck? I was like, I used to come here when I was a kid, like riding my bike. I used to shoot my bow in there. There used to be wild dogs in there.
Oh God!
Cars getting dumped and burnt out. That's how I said it's the perfect, post-Holocaust setting.
Yeah.
Without having to like pay for it, you taking pictures on these rotted out cars with moss growing.
Yeah, what I'm surprised that you never came across a fucking body because I'm putting the time frame together. Yeah. Now here's like this whole other thing, this whole other true crime shit that I'm all fascinated with like a psycho because in the mid 80s, that was the whole Roy DeMeo Gemini Lounge fucking time frame, and they were dumping bodies like crazy at the Fountain Avenue dump over there by Starrett City. They had a gigantic car theft ring. So all of that shit, like some of that shit might have wound up down at the creek where Carnivore was taking fucking album pictures. So I figured that's the time frame, which is crazy just to think.
Yeah. That's funny, man. And it's funny because right before I got into Fallout and in the beginning of my time in Fallout, I worked at a restaurant in Sheepshead Bay called The Barge.
Okay.
I remember it. It was
I know.
Right, you know where Roland Roaster is?
Of course.
Okay. Right across the street, there was a restaurant called The Barge.
Right by the Windjammer, I would assume.
The Windjammer was actually maybe a little. The Windjammer wasn't on Emmons, was it?
Yeah.
It was on Emmons?
I believe so, if I remember right. Maybe I'm all fucked.
Oh wait, you're thinking more towards Knapp Street, I think.
Yes.
This is Nostrand Avenue.
Okay.
And the Barge was like a 2 dining room restaurant with a lounge. And I worked in the lounge, and it was a real gangster hanging. It was like hardcore. I was like Spider. Okay. I was the guy serving drinks, getting coffee for the gangsters at the bar, and then
good thing somebody didn't tell you to dance the fucking drinks over.
Oh man, let me tell you, there was this one guy who used to bust my balls so bad. Oh my God, he used to jab his gun into my side and let me know he was packing and this.
Oh fuck.
Fucking wild. I mean, and I was young. I was like 14, 15 years old working there.
Jesus.
About, you growing up fast, man.
Yeah.
I've been out there till like 4 o'clock in the morning, taking the fucking bus on Nostrand Avenue to go home at 4 o'clock in the morning after.
What a place to fucking grow up. People have no idea. This is like movie type shit, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. It's funny. Sometimes I think about, you say, yeah, my life ain't that interesting, but you say to yourself, compared to kids today,
oh God,
it'd be a fucking good movie,
Yeah, 1,000%. It's like I feel like an asshole. Like half the time when I tell somebody I'm actually writing a book, they're like, "Yeah, but who are you?" I'm like, "I'm just a knucklehead from Brooklyn, but I've been through a lot that I created on my own, a lot of things I didn't create, and I've seen a lot of shit." Like, my stepfather was one of these guys, and there's a lot of shit. I grew up around a lot of shit, like we're talking about. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to write a book because episodes 49 and 51 of this podcast, it's only audio. I did parts 1 and part 2. It's Jimmy Ferrari, Life and Times, part 1 and part 2. I spill everything. And once I put it out, everyone was like, dude, that should be a fucking movie. That's insane. So I'm like, okay. So 6 years later, I'm like, about 9 months ago, I woke up. I'm like, I think I'm going to write a book. Coming from somebody who used to have his older sister do his book reports for him, I don't know how to write. But I'm like, no joke, it's gonna be edited down like crazy. But I'm like over 600 pages in.
Let me tell you something. You never know what you can do until you do it.
Right? Fuck it.
No,
I'm not doing it for anything, but just do it.
I'm gonna segue into something that I heard you talk about. Let's talk about Animal Hall for a minute.
I went there one time.
Okay.
The rogue animals.
Yeah, the rogue animals. So we're talking about writing a book, okay? I'm going to give a little plug to my good friend Tommy Scotta, okay?
Okay.
Tommy Scotta and I, here's the funny thing. Tommy Scotta was a guy I met in Kingsborough when I was going to school there with Pete. Now, Pete was already going there like a year, maybe a year and a half.
I think we all went through there because I went there too.
Before I went there, right? So now Pete was like Pete was in and out of that school. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself because I went to Baruch right out of high school for a year. Then I took a job in the garment center, and I made really good money. And I didn't want to go back to school because I was making good money, having a good time, going to shows, and just living it up, right?
Sure.
So I worked the whole year, and then the summer came again, and I was like, all right, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I got to go back to school. What do I got to do? So I had this plan to go for like engineering, but I needed physics. So I said, all right, I'll go to Kingsborough. I'll get physics, and then I'll go to what was that? I forget the name of the school in Brooklyn. Was it? I forget where it was. Anyway, that was my plan. But Pete was already going there. He was like, hey, you know what? Let's just get all of our classes together so we can like hang out all day and have a good time. I was like, all right, fuck it, So
yeah.
Pete had early registration, and he tries to get me into the early registration. Now, college, you go, and when you're first coming in, you don't get you get what's left, right?
Yeah.
You go to register for classes. Well, that's not how it used to be anyway. I don't know if it's like that now.
That's how it was when I went in like '93. So
right.
Yeah.
So basically, you're new to the school. This is what's left. You can take, this. Well, Pete was actually, let's say he was supposed to go on a Thursday. I was supposed to go Friday. We both go on Wednesday.
Right.
For classes. And we get caught. And this guy literally grabs us and is like, show me your registration card, and then the guy was like, I'll never forget what Pete said to the guy. The guy was like, you're not supposed to be here till Friday, and you're not supposed to be here till tomorrow. So both of you come back on Monday. And Pete was like, who are you to bestow punishment upon me?
It sounds so typical. It's awesome.
I was like, you ain't helping, Pete. You ain't helping. I was like, I'm not even in the school yet.
What a fucking great response.
So we leave, and he goes, fuck that. We're both coming back tomorrow. So we came back the next day on the day that I'm supposed to be there. Oh, no, the day that he's supposed to be there. And we cross the path of this, what was it, the theater director. He was like for the drama department.
Okay.
And he goes, you guys would be great. And we stopped in our tracks, and we're looking, like, talking to us. You guys would be great. Because, Pete had hair, past his tits. Mine was like down to my shoulders.
Yeah.
Both wearing motorcycle jackets. And we go, great at what? What are you talking about? He's like, we're doing a Greek tragedy, Trojan women this year. And you guys would be perfect for this play. You already got the look. You wouldn't need any makeup.
No costumes, nothing.
So people's like, no, I'm not interested. I was like, wait a minute, Pete. Wait, maybe he can help us out.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I said, get up. This is what we want. We want our programs to have all the same classes so that, we can hang out and we could be available to do your play.
There you go. You help me, I help you.
So he's like, what classes do you want? He went over to each station, each table. He made the teachers, whatever, make room for us in the class. He put our program. We were in and out of there in like 20 minutes.
That's fucking awesome.
It was great. So now we had our schedule set, right? And during that time, I met Tommy Scotta. Now, Tommy Scotta was, in my anthropology class. In fact, that was the only class I had that Pete wasn't in. And, we hit it off right away. He had the look, I had the look, we became chummy. He was a motorcycle guy, and he was prospecting for the Rogue Animals.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
And we were looking for a guitarist for Carnivore. So I was like, we were kind of in the same point of our life. You just, starting out your career in the MC. We're starting out our shit with Carnivore, and we go through school together, whatever. And during that time, Tommy got into the Rogue Animals. We got Keith into the band, and next thing you know, we're hanging out with each other. We're at the clubhouse, meeting the guys and stuff. And, hey, you guys should play here. And this is when their clubhouse was on.
Did Sunset Park?
It was still they had two clubhouses. Both of them were in Sunset Park. Both of them were on Third Avenue. Was that Third Avenue or Fourth Avenue?
Yeah, I think it was Third Avenue. I wish I would have known we were talking about this, because I actually have a flyer from the show that I was at. It was like early Life of Agony, First Order, Nobody's Perfect, and the band that Anthony Mio started after getting booted from Biohazard, New York City Strike.
Let me tell you something. That was way after,
I'm sure,
this thing. Because what happened, because this is where the whole idea for Animal Hall came. Because what happened was they had a party in their first clubhouse. So it was like, a matter of like maybe 8 blocks down, on the same avenue, whether it was Third or Fourth Avenue, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Third Avenue.
Yeah, me too.
And they had a party, and we played at the party. And it was just like we were jamming in the basement, just amps. Yeah. There was no, no real PA. Peter, had whatever like PA we used to rehearse out of and stuff. And it was a blast. We had a great time. It was such a scene. I mean, their clubhouse was like crazy.
I don't know if you could see it.
The flyer?
It's Animal Hall, 3rd Avenue and 7th Street. This club. Life of Agony, First Order, Nobody's Perfect, New York City Strength. Donation $3. This was 91. So yeah, much later.
Well, so what happened was, after we played that show, they moved into a different clubhouse. Their membership grew. They were trying to become like a Brooklyn chapter of the Hells Angels.
Right.
They were soliciting, a benefit for their, for their effort, for the legal defense fund or something of Hells Angels. And now they wanted Carnivore to play a regular show. They were going to charge admission and sell beer, completely illegal. Right?
Of course, yeah.
We pull it off. We actually, they come. The block is lined with bikes. There was a fairly good attendance. The Hells Angels didn't like our music at all. They wanted to hear Rolling Stones and Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
When we were playing Carnivore tunes, but that pretty much opened up the idea of Animal Hall. I guess they were like, hey, we should do this.
Yeah.
And it became a thing. And we never played there again.
Right. Okay.
But other bands did, like, all the local bands that were, bands that became big, like Life of Agony and, whoever else. I mean, I think Biohazard may have played
Yes,
there.
they did.
So all these bands made their stint and broke their bone, made their bones at Animal Hall.
Animal Hall.
That
place was a fire trap.
And here's the funny thing now. So now Tommy Scotta, good friend of mine, right? We actually worked together in Red Hook at the surgical supply warehouse while he was in the club, and while I was in Carnivore. And then I left that job because I got called to be a bus driver. This was back in '86.
Okay.
It was right before Retaliation.
Retaliation, yeah.
Right? As a matter of fact, if you look on the back of Retaliation, in the credits, I thank the TWU for providing me the time off I needed to record the record.
Nice.
I was new on the job, and I didn't have time. So I told them my deal. I said, I'm in a band, blah blah blah. I got this obligation, and I need to fill it. Can you help me out? So I gave them credits on the record. But so now I'm kind of out of touch with Tommy, right? Because I left that job. He's still there. One day, about maybe, God, 5 years later, 3 years, let's say 3 years later, Typo Negative was recording Bloody Kisses.
Okay.
I'm not sure if my timeline is right. I'm on a train coming to Brooklyn, even though I was already married. I lived on Staten Island. I was going to meet my wife at her mother's house, and I was on the Brighton line, and I hear somebody. I was coming home from culinary school, so I had my chef coat on. I had my knife bag in my hand. It's got my name on the side, and I hear somebody come in my ear. Hey, ain't you that cat from Carnivore?
Oh shit.
And I turn around and it's my friend Tommy.
Fuck.
Tommy, holy shit. Like, I haven't seen him in 4 or 5 years. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And he looks completely different. He's got his hair cut short. He's got a little slick back, looking like GQ guy. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it was shortly after you left. I got called to be a conductor. So I was working in the transit authority as a conductor. He says, and then I went into their operations planning group. He says, it's a really cool gig. He says, you should look into it. And it was him who basically introduced me to the rest of my career in the transit authority because he mentioned this thing. He told me, like, if you become a dispatcher, they hire dispatchers as schedule managers, and then from schedule manager, and I wound up doing 33 years in the transit authority. I retired senior director of schedules. I was in charge of all the bus schedules in New York City.
Wow.
So, but it was Tommy that was really the guy who, like, kind of introduced the idea to me,
Yeah.
Well, fast forward, Tommy leaves the transit authority, goes into his own business, franchising. He took on a smoothie franchise, had spots, different locations, did that for a while, then sold those business, started another one, didn't do too good, started another one, did better. And now he is like a guru for franchise, starting people with franchise, like matching people. It's
Really?
franchise, yeah. And he matches people up with their what's the right match for them to have a successful franchise.
Gotcha.
And he wrote like 3 books, and that's the whole point, coming full circle here.
Yeah.
There's a guy that I went to Kingsborough with, starting out bottom level biker, bottom level drummer guy. You're looking for a guitarist, and
brings you to Animal fucking Hall.
and and like it was just like, and then here he became a pillar of society, I guess.
Yeah, go fucking figure.
From outlaw biker to, like, accomplished author, entrepreneur guy,
Successful businessman.
It just shows you that you could do anything you want if you put.
Hell yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah,
it take a while, but you get there if you.
Yeah,
if
listen, you stick with it long enough, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, that was actually brilliant how you told all that and you went bang full circle back to the book. Very impressive. I would have been scatterbrained and completely forgot what my whole point was. That was me, 100%, guaranteed. My mind just fucking goes quicker than my mouth sometimes.
I try to keep myself tame. I realize,
Yeah,
people actually watch this thing.
Yeah, actually, they actually do. I'm not sure why sometimes, but they do. But you know what I actually looked into, because I know that, speaking of, like, there's a correlation between like Johnny Z and Megaforce and Alex Perialis, who did Retaliation for you. So once I knew that for years and years, I was like, wow, that's fucking awesome. Because and then I looked yesterday, I think I looked it up. I was just curious of what he was doing because Retaliation, as we all know, or we should know at this point, that came out in '87. It dropped in '87. Mm-hmm. So, but I looked. Alex Perialis, the albums that he worked on in 1987, there's a fucking shit ton. This guy must have been ridiculously busy. Like, ridiculous. In '87, Nuclear Assault, Brain Dead, MOD for USA. I just scribbled that. I don't know what the fuck that says. Oh, Testament to Legacy, Retaliation, Blessed Death, Nuclear Assault, Game Over, Testament Live at Eindhoven, Overkill, Fuck You. One of my absolute fucking favorite records ever is Agnostic Front, Liberty and Justice for, and a band I never heard of before. It's a band called At War, and the album is called Retaliatory Strike. But all of that came out in '87 that Alex Perialis did.
Yeah, wow.
It's not even normal. 1, 2,
yeah.
That's 10 albums in '87 alone.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I was like,
I wasn't even aware of that.
I had no idea until I did a little search. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember, we did most of the recording, like the basic tracks in Systems 2, which is where Typo always did their recordings, right? And but not the same location. We did it when it was on Avenue U and Nostrand.
You guys ever rehearsed with Mikey Big Balls at fucking Fastlane?
I think so. I don't think, actually, no, not as Carnivore. I've been there, like jamming with people. I think I jammed with my cousin there one time.
Okay, I used to go there all the time.
We used to practice at Sync the Pink. Yeah, Sync the Pink. That was Woody's studio on Flatbush, and like it was Flatlands or
like flat. Yeah, it wasn't flat. Yeah, it was Flatlands. I picture it in my head.
It was on Flatbush. I know that. It was
yes.
Or it was a Kings Highway, not Flatland. It was like Kings High, like it was like between Kings Highway and I don't know, Avenue K or something like that. On Flatbush.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, it very well could have been. I have the front of it in my head, but dude, that was so long ago too.
Yeah, that was. I think that was during. I remember AJ Perro used to jam there with Cities, I believe, back before he was even in Twisted Sister.
Jesus. Yeah.
But that we used to, Sal had a studio, in on Quentin Road. That Quentin Road was like the heart of a lot of shit.
Yeah, man.
That's where I grew up. That's where Sal grew up. Sal lived on the same block as me. Down, I was between P and Quentin. He was between Quentin and R. Okay. We used to rehearse in Joe Bravo's studio, East London, 36th Street. You had Zappa's right across the street.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't think we finished that story, but yeah, Zappa's moved from the corner of 35th Street to closer to like maybe one storefront away from 36th Street on the same side of the block, a smaller room. But I think that's where it had most of its notoriety.
Yeah.
At that location. And then Sal's father bought the building on Quentin Road from a guy that I used to work for, making Latin percussion instruments, cowbells and stuff like that,
Yeah.
And he moved to like Pennsylvania, so he sold the bill. He owned the building. He sold it to Sal's dad, who was a big real estate. He's into real estate, and so Sal made the storefront a studio. In fact, in the basement that's where Typo Negative used to rehearse. In their basement. I know you're going to have a show with Sal. I don't want to steal any of his thunder.
That's fine. We just go. This
is how we all met, because what happened was Sal also worked at this place after I left, And Joe, the owner, told Sal about me and said, you should take lessons from Louie. He's, good drummer, blah, blah, blah. And so that's how I took Sal on as a student. So there's a lot of things, intertwined here. Kenny from Typo Negative. I know him like since he's 5 years old. His brother.
Yeah.
His older brother. I used to hang out with in grammar school when we used to go to Good Shepherd. I used to hang out in Kenny's house, in his apartment above the store on Quentin Road. And me and his brother used to cook all the time. So I was into cooking back then.
Yeah. I see the shit you posted.
Yeah, man. That's,
Nice.
It's all about the food for me now.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. Damn right. Yeah, a lot of cross-pollination, a lot of, childhood, small neighborhood, different time. Everyone knew each other. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Biohazard used to be our road crew.
Yeah, crazy.
Mio used to roadie for me.
Fucking Mio.
Evan's father's Cadillac. We used to call it the Dadillac.
Yeah.
He used to fit all my drums in his fucking trunk of that car.
Yeah. Mio is rest in peace, Mio. He recently passed away.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in person since like the mid-90s. Because I really liked his band that he created after Biohazard, New York City Strength.
I never heard anything of it.
I could probably send you the MP3 files of like 4 of their songs. It was Mio, Scott Datino, who was Tapeworm, Tapeworm. He was original bassist for Mucky Pup. So it was Mio. Yeah, it was Mio and Tapeworm and a guy on guitar named, I don't know his real name, but his name was, they called him Splatter. I don't know his real name. And the singer was a guy named TK, Tommy Kemp, who's actually in the original Biohazard Panic Attack video in the back, and he's breaking up weed in the backstage of L'Amour's in that video. But I have their first demo. I have the original cassette, but I also have the MP3s, and there's 4 songs. They put out another demo after that, and it still burns my ass that I don't know where that tape is, but I had it. And then they switched singers, and then I became less and less of, they became something else, and I kind of lost contact. But for a while, me and Mio used to hang out for a while in the early 90s, and that guy was a character, boy.
Yeah, man.
He lived with a friend of mine for a while.
He was a big Carnivore fan.
Huge.
God,
I have a vivid memory of Mio in the apartment above Banner Glass, and my sister and her roommate had a giant rack system. Remember the rack system with the 100? The giant rack system with huge speakers, and we were blasting Retaliation like on fucking 12. And he was sitting on the couch playing air drums to you. I'll never forget that for some reason. He's just like, and he's like, and he back then, this was like 93 maybe, and he was giving you like high praise during that time. He's like fucking Louie Beato, blah blah blah. So yeah. He was a big fan of yours, huge.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Yeah.
Big heart. He had a big heart.
Big heart, crazy guy, hilarious. And
him and Evan was so tight, man. At one time, they were like Abbott and Costello, man. Holy shit! They lived together for a while there. They had like an apartment together. They were funny as hell, man. I remember going out with those guys. There was a time when I was hanging out with them more than my own band, just like because they were fucking hilarious.
Yeah, characters.
I remember going to Costello's bar one time with Bobby, with the whole band. Really, it was Mio, Evan, Bobby,
Billy,
maybe Billy. There was a time when Biohazard existed without Billy a little bit. Like he got into the band, like I think a little bit later. Maybe am I remembering that right?
I don't know. I know he was on the first demo, but maybe it was like
he was the last. Well, besides Danny, he was the last, I think, one to join the band because he was from the city.
Yeah,
he didn't live in Brooklyn. He lived in the city. He was the skinhead of the band.
He was. Bobby was too. I remember when I lived in Canarsie, it was the house right before I moved to Howard Beach. It was the house I lived on East 78 between Glenwood and Farragut. And my stepfather brought me to Utica Avenue to a place. It's long gone. It was a little mom and pop pet store called Marc's Aquarium.
Yeah, I know that place.
You remember that place?
Yeah.
So I went into Marc's Aquarium, and I was always into like reptiles and snakes and lizards and shit. So he buys me like this big 55-gallon fish tank to make it like a terrarium for all kinds of fucking creatures, right? So we go to the pet store and we go downstairs. Now at this point, I had never heard of. I was like listening to fucking old Metallica and like the first Suicidal Tendencies record and shit like that. So we go in there, we're looking around, then we go downstairs, and there's a guy who I'm like, hey, what's going on? How are you? And there he is. He has a POW MIA t-shirt on, rings on every finger, tattoos, skinhead. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He introduces himself to me, Bobby. But Bobby the Handball is working downstairs at Marc's Aquarium, and he sold me my first 3 iguanas.
Really?
Yeah, he was telling me, we started talking about reptiles, and he's like, yeah, I have a Mojave rattlesnake at his house that he keeps in a wooden crate and all this kind of crazy shit. But then there was not that much later, probably 2-3 years later, I was at the Crazy Country Club.
I've never been there. I know.
I was there like twice for hardcore shows, and their slogan was "Warm beer, lousy food."
Yeah.
So I go in there, and I'm like 15, dude, and I walk in there, and there's Bobby the Handball, and he's hammered at the bar. And me being like a little weird, awkward 14, 15-year-old kid, I walk over to him like he would recognize me for selling me lizards, right?
Remember me?
Yeah, like one of those stupid things. So, but at the time, I was aware of Biohazard. Like the first album had just came out, and it was great and all that. So I sit next to him, I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And I didn't say he remember me, but I thought maybe he would. But I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" And he like poured his heart out to me. He was getting hammered because his oldest and biggest iguana, Spike, had just died. Oh. And he was drowning his sorrows over his lizard at the Crazy Country Club. This was like as soon as the first album dropped.
Wow.
Bobby the Handball, random stories.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's man.
Crazy. You know, it's funny. Just side note about iguanas. First of all, the largest iguana I ever seen until I moved to Florida. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been down to South Florida, and it took me off guard. I was driving into Key West, and I saw an iguana. I thought it was a cat off the side of the road. You know, your mind is just like, what? And then you look and you're like, is that a fucking like a lizard? What?
Yeah,
that's an iguana. Holy shit! And they're like, oh yeah, they call them chicken of the trees down here. You know, they just like they're an invasive species. But being a Brooklyn kid, it blew me away. But before that, the largest iguana I ever seen was Josh's iguana. He donated like an entire, well, not an entire, I'd say a half a room to this. I remember when the tree trim, those tree trimmers, they come down the block, and they start taking a limb. So like they took down a tree or something on Josh's block. He gives me a call. He says, "Hey, can you help me carry a tree up to my attic?" I go, "Okay. What do you need a tree in your attic for?" He says, "You'll see when you get here." And sure enough, the iguana that he had in a tank, and then he kind of had like a little niche part of the room where he enclosed with plexiglass. It kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And but Josh was a maniac when it came to caring for any of his animals. That's why I always knew Josh was going to be a fantastic parent.
Yeah,
he was so good to his animals. I mean, I remember him cooking. He never cooked anything for himself, but he cooked his dog Butch food because he was allergic to dog food.
Oh,
and he would cook like meatloafs. We used to call it Butch loaf. But sure enough, he says, "Hey, I'm going to put this tree up in here, and I'm going to make a wall and put all plexiglass and keep it a constant 92 degrees in here."
Yeah.
And this is where, you know, he's, you know, as big as he's willing to get, I'm gonna let him get. You know,
That's awesome.
and the thing had a head the size of a football. I mean,
Crazy.
it was big, man.
Yeah. Mine got to
And I
about
remember
6 feet.
it was huge. I mean, and like the body was like this, you know.
Yeah.
He had girth on him until he didn't. You know, I remember when he started losing weight, and then, you know, Josh was like, you know, really upset that he wasn't doing well, and, you know, he eventually came to terms with, you know, I think I'm gonna have to put him down. He called the mobile vet. They came,
Oh,
euthanized them and all. But Josh had so many. Josh was big into snakes. I remember one time we were, we were walking to. I don't know if you remember, on the junction, a place called the Unsloppy Copy Shop. It was right on
oh.
right in the
I would have
junction.
remembered that.
Right in the junction. That's where Fallout used to get their flyers printed. We were walking there. It was a nice day. We said, let's take a walk. So we walked from Avenue K and East 18th down to the junction. And he had a snake in his house that wasn't eating, you know, live rats, dead rats, mice, this, whatever. He didn't. So on the way to the copy store, we found a disabled pigeon that was kind of like fluttering in somebody's like lawn, like behind the bushes.
Uh-huh.
So Josh was like, "Oh, look, the pigeon's like all fucked up, you know. It's a shame he's gonna die, you know. Maybe we should put it to good use."
Yeah.
So he picks up the pigeon. Needless to say, we didn't get to the copy store.
Coffee shop.
We went back to the house, and he throws the pigeon into the tank with the snake, and the snake went for it.
Nice.
And he was so happy. He was like, "He's eating it. He's eating it." I was like, "Look at you, huh?"
That's awesome. My iguana eventually died after having it for about 10, 11 years. He was about 6 feet long with the tail and everything. And unless they did extensive work, he's buried in a strong box in the backyard in Howard Beach. Where he is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had an iguana. I don't think I kept it warm enough for him. It didn't last very long. You know, that was before I even really knew what to do with them. I was a kid. I don't know. I was like, you know,
Yeah.
15, maybe 14 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, because that's how I was. I was young, and Bobby sold me 3 of them, and 2 of them died, and like their jaws were starting to get like swollen. I'm like, something's going on. And then the third one, the one that I had for the longest, the one that's buried in the backyard, that one started to get a little bit, and then I brought it to a vet who specialized in reptiles, and I started really learning about them, and then I started taking care of them and shit. Because I was like, oh yeah, you just throw them crickets and throw them lettuce, and they're good.
Well, I know. Josh used to put like a protein powder on top of the greens. He said because in the wild there's bugs on the vegetation they eat, which provides protein.
Yes.
So this is a supplement for that.
Yeah, Bobby told me I used to torture my mother. God rest her soul. I used to torture my mother. Like, Ma, you going out? Like, you going food shopping? All right, can you stop at the pet store? I need a giant bag of monkey chow. It was monkey chow. It was monkey chow. It looked like shredded wheat cereal. Like they were like biscuits that came in like a big bag. And Bobby told me they eat monkey chow, and you could do 2 things. You could either soak it in water to get it almost like slop, or you can grind it up into like a dust and put it on there like salad. So I used to all the time, Ma, and then it became like a thing. Jim, what do you need? You need more fucking monkey chow? I'm like, yeah, I need monkey chow. Can you pay me a couple? The lizard's starving. I need monkey chow. Yeah.
I used to have, you know, Sal's father. He used to own a butcher shop in Hell's Kitchen.
Okay.
And so I had a fish tank that I had custom made. It was a flat back hexagon tank with an undergravel filter. And I had cichlids, Oscars, Pacu, Jack Dempsey's, and they got huge.
Yeah.
I used to feed them live like goldfish and stuff. But what happened is they got a disease called hexamida. It's like a worm that burrows in and out of their head and leaves scars like in their head. You can see like it looks fucking disgusting, like holes in their brain.
Really?
And you know, so someone, I did research, and they said, you need to feed them a cleaner food. And one of the things they said was beef heart. If you take beef heart and dice it up, they'll eat that, and it's good protein. It's clean. There's no parasites in it. So I used to have Sal bring home for me beef hearts. Like one beef heart would last me about a month, So
Yeah.
I would 2 beef hearts would bring home for me. And so Sal was responsible for my fish's diet.
Nice. So there's beef hearts for your fish, and then you go to the market, the halal market, right? To go get fucking blood and fucking goat carcasses and fucking sheep's eyeballs and all kinds of shit for carnivore shows.
Hey,
You're in culinary school with knives. It's like
see what you missed, Jimmy.
I did.
You see what you missed? That was real shit too.
I know. I fucking missed all of that shit. I'm pissed.
It's funny because I can hear I don't know, maybe some of the YouTube video comments and stuff. I hear people, some people who saying. I remember one guy was saying something about, after a carnivore show at Lemoore, he'd go over to what is that? New Utrecht Avenue to get on the train.
Yeah.
Be on the train covered in blood. And he'd be, and he's half in the bag, holding onto the fucking railing. And he looks up and there's a cop staring at him. And he's like,
I look like he's committed a murder.
You're going to break my balls now? How I explain this,
Yeah.
The schools is banned, and they throw meat and stuff out,
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. But what I did see, I wanted to ask you, because you guys did the St. Valentine's Day reunion in '94, right?
You know what, Jimmy? That's funny. You should mention that.
Get the fuck out of here!
I don't know if you could see that.
I can, yeah. St. Valentine's Day Massacre reunion, Lemoore, February 12th, '94, Lemoore, Brooklyn. That's fucking incredible. That obviously that's an original from then. It's the Brooklyn Boot Boys.
Yeah.
That
was cool. We used to make shirts for specific shows.
That's awesome.
You don't see too many people do that.
So I was at that. It was. I don't know how many. Did you just do a one-off that night?
That was just one show, yeah.
Was that the same night? My memory could be playing tricks on me. Was that the same night? All right. Lemoore's at that point, the stage was on the opposite side. Right? Because they closed original Lemoore's. It became like the Cabaret or some shit. And then it became the Warehouse, it was called. And the stage was on the opposite side.
Yeah, I think if my memory serves correctly, the first time I went to Lemoore, I don't know how to identify it. Let's call when you walk through the front doors of Lemoore on 62nd Street.
Yeah.
Okay. For most of my memory of Lemoore,
that was always the main entrance, though.
That was the main entrance, and the stage was on that same.
On the right. Yes.
When I first went to Lemoore was to see Zebra.
Oh boy, they played there every day, it seemed like.
And that's, again, they were playing cover tunes. They weren't playing originals to come full circle, okay?
Yeah.
They were playing Zeppelin, they were playing Rush, they were playing I don't know, were they playing ACD? Whatever. They were a cover band, okay? And they snuck in a song here or there. But anyway, they played on a stage that was on the far end. Okay. Then they changed it. They put the stage on this side by the door. Then again they changed it again and put it on the other side.
Yeah. And
I think that's the way it ended, like that.
I think so too. And the stage was on the far end that night. Now, was that the same night? I'm not fucking crazy. It might be the same. It had to have been the same night that Pete had fucking shoulder pads on, and he threw them out. The shoulder pads got thrown into the crowd.
Yes,
and that was that night.
And Paris got them.
There was Paris, I think, might have got one. There's a guy named Axe who got the other one, and I was wrestling him in the crowd for it. And another thing that burns my ass more so than the New York City Strength demo is that I grabbed something and I don't know whose they were because it was just chaos for the fucking shoulder pads, and I broke off a piece. It was like circuit board.
Circuit board. Yeah, I was just gonna say. Yeah.
And I had a piece of that for fucking years, dude. And I have no idea where it went, and it still bothers me that I don't have it.
I know. It's like the teeth on my drums, right? I have no idea what happened to them.
Really?
I have no idea what. I tell you, you get sloppy when you get older. You just do. It's like and honestly, I'm not like an organized collector guy. Right. I don't have like tapes all nicely stacked and.
I do now though, so it bothers me. I don't have it.
I'm just not that guy. I have it all up here, or what I don't remember don't matter.
But you have a lot of Carnivore stuff though, because I watched that Drew Stone one that you did. You were breaking the cowbell that you made, the fucking Predator and God is Dead cowbell, fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's part of my kit. I have that still, and that's like my, I made. That's the one thing I made that when this guy Papa was making these bells, he was making them more for like hardcore Latin players. None of his bells really had a mount on it for putting on a kit. They were all handheld. The fact that the description was handheld Latin percussion instruments. That was what he did. So I said, let's weld a handle on this thing. I'll put it on my kit.
Yeah,
and it'll be like, this will be the loudest fucking bell. I equate that bell to like a rude cymbal, like it's gonna penetrate. And it's not just like a quirky, like little LP, like right. wood block sounding bell. It's a fucking gong. It cuts through. And then he started marketing them like that. In fact, he even made there wasn't even a clamp that was strong enough to hold this, because the bell was like a good 4 pounds.
Yeah.
So he actually welded using nuts and wing nuts and heavy duty shit a mount for me to use to mount it on the kit. And
so fucking cool.
And then he started marketing and he started selling them too. I remember we used to go to Manny's Music and deliver like hand-picked orders to Manny's Music on 48th Street in the city when that block used to be the music mecca, all the music stores. That was cool going there Saturday morning. I remember going with his dilapidated station wagon, going there, just leaving the car on the street, bringing in boxes of bells and different,
Yeah.
That's
fucking cool. Yeah, that sucks. You don't know where your teeth are. How'd you lose that?
I know. Imagine that.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. It is. It's crazy.
That actually bothers me that you don't even know where that
is. I know. I said, I have the drums still.
Yeah.
I have the drums. I just gotta, I gotta get some teeth together for them.
Yeah.
When I put,
I'm sure somebody would recreate them for you without a problem.
Yeah. Well, I had a guy that made the. I don't know if you were around when I did the Agnostic Front reunion in 2014.
I was living. Where was I living? I don't think I was in the state. I moved around a lot. But I was pissed that I missed that because for a long
time. Hold on a second. I got it hanging on my wall. Let me go get it.
What, the skin?
Yeah, I got it. Hold on a
second. Oh, fuck. Follow Generation Records, the sponsor of the podcast, at Generation Records. That's incredible, dude.
So
that's so awesome.
This is one of the two skins. I think Roger has the other one.
Yeah, Roger is a collector.
We all signed it the night of the Black and Blue show when we did the reunion.
That's incredible, dude.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. I'm glad to have that.
Yeah, of course. Sean Taggart, iconic album cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That was they were working on that artwork for their record. It took him a long time to do that one. but it was that artwork that kind of enticed us to ask him to do
Yeah.
our Carnivore cover.
Yeah.
Of course, the inner sleeve was like the the more intricate part of
Yes.
that album, but it was hidden. You didn't get to see it unless you bought the record.
Yes.
The
It's a
inner
hidden
sleeve,
gem. You gotta get that, of course.
yeah.
Yeah, man. So that whole, I mean, the drum kit that you have, I mean, you recorded everything on those in that same kit, right? Everything.
Kit. Yep, Fallout, Carnivore, and Agnostic Front.
Unreal.
I got a T-shirt with that too. Let me see.
That's incredible, dude.
I got
The drums on Cause for Alarm are fucking second to none. Ridiculous. That, see, right there, yeah, that's awesome. I guarantee you somebody can recreate that for you on the threshold of extinction. So good. So good. Where'd you get that from?
Somebody made this shirt up.
Oh, there's the friend of the band who was comfortable to do that.
Yeah.
Rock hard, backed with batteries not included. So fucking cool.
Yep. Now, how about batteries not included? Now, there's a song that could easily be the theme for IA in this day and age, right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah, man.
So,
Yeah. There was a lot of what's the word I'm looking for?
Foreshadowing?
Yeah, foreshadowing, I guess. Indirect foreshadowing, or maybe you were really onto something. Like, I don't know. But
or really active imagination.
Yes, that for some crazy reason is real now. It's fucking nuts. We live in crazy times, man.
Yeah, sure is.
Fucking nuts. Shit. So what well, I know, does anything nowadays, like, do you actually maybe dip your toe into just out of curiosity of any of like the new heavier hardcore stuff that's out now? Like, do you even bother?
I mean, I don't really like look for it,
Right.
but there are times when I'll be exposed to it in one way or another. But I don't really. I think I'm just stuck in the old stuff. I mean,
I don't blame you.
I mean, there are so many times I hear stuff that somebody will recommend, or I'll just come across it and I'll be like, nah, it's not really grabbing me,
Right.
So
It takes a lot nowadays. I don't remember honestly, I don't remember the last time I was like, wow, with,
yeah.
I have like, there's like, as far as heavy music, 'cause I listen to a lot of different stuff, but as far as heavy music, there's probably the same 25 records I've listened to since 1982. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like, there's just that stuff. And then a couple things here and there, but like I said, it's like, okay, is it good for what they do? I guess so, but I feel like I've heard this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it's far and few between. Like I said, it takes a lot to impress me or to be like, well, that's different and I actually like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like, I mean, I remember, like when I remember when you were excited to hear something new in anticipation that it was going to like capture your attention, maintain it, and make you want I think about, I can't think about many records, but like I think about the first time I heard Manowar.
Right.
I remember buying the record. I had no knowledge of them whatsoever. It wasn't like I heard it and say, oh, I have to get that. Never even heard it. So my first impression of it was side one on my turntable. And I remember not even flipping the record because I was so drawn to side one of that record that I kept playing side one. Like like wanting to get tired of it before flipping it to side two, because side two only had 2 songs on it, Battle
Right.
Hymns and I forget what the other song was, but you know, I was like, oh, how good can that? You know, that's going to probably be boring. These songs are the ones that I have, and then finally flipping it and listening to Battle Hymns and listening to the others and saying like, oh my god, this is like I can't get enough of this, you know,
Right. Yeah.
and uh,
It's
I haven't felt like that about anything recently, you know.
yeah. It's like as you were saying, it's like of course I have to play the tape in my head. Like my sister, like I said earlier, she's 6 years older than me. So there was always music in the background of my house when like my real father had a huge record collection. I grew up on all the Zeppelin, and even from Zeppelin to Joe Cocker, Bob Seger, Neil Diamond, to all of that stuff, Stones, or a lot of Queen. So as a little kid, I knew all that stuff. And then my sister in the early 80s, then my sister started to listen to like the emerging fucking Sunset Strip hair metal bands and shit. So that would be playing out of my sister's room all the time. And then one day she played like a Misfits song. I think the song was Bullet, about Kennedy getting killed. And then I went to Sam Goody's in Kings Plaza and I bought Metallica Ride the Lightning. And I put that into my Walkman and I was on the bus going back to Canarsie. And I was just like, holy shit. You know what I mean? And then I got into all the thrash stuff and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Early Metallica, early Megadeth and Testament and Suicidal. And then I went to L'Amour's to go see Suicidal. And the lineup was White Zombie, Leeway, Suicidal Tendencies. And I have heard of Leeway and I've seen them on flyers. I knew they played all over the place, but I never heard a note. And White Zombie was still a bunch of dirtbags in a fucking van. They were on first. And then Leeway came on, and that was my pivotal point right there. It was they were a crossover band. It was just enough metal mixed in with hardcore that it was the perfect segue from me being such a metalhead into that. And then I went to a place in Canarsie, Ciro's CD Cellar, and I walked in there with my fucking allowance, and I was like, listen, I need to buy the first Leeway album, Born to Expire. And then he was like, if you're into this, then you'll like this. And he sold me Agnostic Front, Liberty and Justice, which was basically a very metal record, but crossover. So that was it. And then I started studying my lessons, and then I went back. And that's when I found Carnivore and the early Agnostic Fronts. And then that was then Sick of It All and all that stuff. And then that's what brought me here.
Yeah.
It was the ritual. It was the ritual of going to the store, reading liner notes of whatever band, the thank yous, who they toured with.
Yeah, that was I remember like Sundays, like Sunday morning or late morning. We would go to Zigzag Records on Avenue U. Those guys were like, it was like going into a wine shop where you had a bunch of sommeliers there or something that knew that these guys knew their shit, and they knew what we liked and they knew, what to recommend, or you got your latest edition of Kerrang magazine. Keith was a big, he loved Kerrang. He used to always get the magazine and read up about, what was the up and coming bands. I mean, but it was so easy to just become enamored with new music back then because it was good. I remember when Judas Priest played the Palladium. It was like my first concert, going with Pete, Josh, the whole entourage that I was telling you about with Fallout. And I never really even heard of Judas Priest. And I had one record that my cousin gave me. It was Stained Class. And I listened to that record. I liked it a lot, And when we went to go see them at the Palladium, and this must have been like, I don't know, maybe 1980. I guess it had to be 1980, 81, the latest. They only played one song from the record, which was Exciter. But it didn't matter because I got to see Judas Priest for the first time, hearing Green Manalishi, Hellbent for Leather, all their classics live for the first time in the Palladium. The Palladium was a great venue, man.
Yeah.
That was it was a theater. It was, it was made for that kind of performance, and it was just really, really cool. And I was so hooked then. I mean, I was like, this is the kind of music I'm into now. I remember realizing that there was an actual genre definition, heavy metal. That's because I was a big Zeppelin guy. I mean, classic rock. I grew up, my whole neighborhood, the soundtrack of Zeppelin, Stones, the Beatles, Who, all of that. I lived across the street from a schoolyard, so as soon as the spring came, from spring to fall,
the boom box with the 75D batteries in it.
Yeah, exactly. So and they weren't playing disco in my neighborhood; they were playing rock. So
yeah,
it was like the soundtrack of my youth.
Yeah.
And then Sabbath, got became prominent in my listening. And it's like an evolution of what makes you, and for me, I was a drummer. I wasn't like I know a lot of people feel like they're motivated or have the talent to write music and want to take their career to a new heights, and that's great. I mean, they have that talent and ability and imagination to express. For me, I was just a Neanderthal drummer.
Yeah.
And that's
which is fucking fine. I mean,
I mean, like I just and that's what it blows me away that I'm here. I'm 60 years old. I'm talking about something I did 40 years ago.
Awesome.
Over 40 years ago, and I didn't do it extensively.
You didn't.
I mean, there's 3 short stints I had.
Yeah.
And why I didn't go to another band after it was all over, I felt like I was done. I did, I had my fill. I feel like, I mean, I dabbled here and there. I had friends over the house. We played, garage band type music and stuff like that, maybe with the thought of hitting a bar one day playing, something like that. But for the most part, I unleashed all that energy then. And Pete, my relationship with Pete musically from Fallout, to Carnivore, he wrote what I wanted to play. And as a drummer, I never felt like, like I was being dictated to as far as how to play. It was just like a natural chemistry between us that allowed me to express myself, that fulfilled my need as a musician, a drummer, and I was satisfied. I was satiated. It gave me what I wanted. And after that, I was like, well, what do it's like when I went to go see Led Zeppelin in 1977 at Madison Square Garden.
Jesus, I was only 2.
I was 13 years old, and I was like, got out of there, and I was like, now what?
Yeah,
you got to see your idols. You got to see, you started out with Led Zeppelin. It's not like I started out, with some, neighborhood band, and that was my first rock concert performance, thing.
My first show ever was at L'Amour's, Anthrax at L'Amour's.
There you go. Okay.
They went under a pseudonym. They went under the name Satan's Lounge Band.
Oh yeah.
And I knew it was them because at the time I was a giant Anthrax fan, and it was the B-side of their I Am the Law 12-inch single, but only on the European import. On the backside, there was 2 songs, Buddy Love Bomb and Satan's Lounge Band. Remember you used to call Lemoore's and get the recording of who's playing?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, Saturday night, Satan's Lounge Band. I'm like, that's fucking Anthrax. I'm going to my first show. And it was Anthrax. Yeah, man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Speaking of pseudonyms, we actually, because I asked you about your flyer, I'm glad I just remembered. Where did what was up with the name change there?
So, all right, so we.
And then we're going for a long time. If you need to go, just please let me know. We're going to almost 2.5 hours, dude.
All right, let me try to make
crazy. It doesn't even feel like it, but fine.
We talked about how Carnivore did things over the top, louder, faster, harder, this, that, big. Even the drum kit. 26. Not many people use 2 26-inch bass drums.
No.
And I gotta say, it wasn't like I tried them on before buying them. I just ordered them and realized that it was a mistake because of the spread between, the size of the shells. I mean, let alone never being seen behind the kit, let alone, but having to put these drums up so high to clear the bass drums, it was just, tremendous. But the point being, everything was over the top. So you had Peter Ratajczyk, you had Keith Bonanno, and Louie Beato. Hardly sounding like,
a post-apocalyptic barbarian band.
Right. So, Peter started with Lord Petrus Steele, which was supposed to be more in line with like Lord Humongous.
Yes.
From
the Road Warrior.
Road Warrior, right?
Yes.
Right. And in fact, it's funny, Alex Kane would remember this. We never had an official Carnivore video except for the song Carnivore that would be played at Lemoore when they used to bring down the video screen.
Yes.
With footage of the Mad Max Road Warrior scene when they're like in the desert chasing the oil tanker. And the song Carnivore. That was like our official Lemoore Carnivore video.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. So those names weren't going to cut it. So Pete, like I said, went with Lord Petrus Steele, and then kind of just narrowed it down to Petrus Steele, and then Peter Steele.
Yeah.
He actually changed his name legally, from what I understand. Keith's middle name, with his mother being of, I think, Norwegian descent, was Alexander.
Okay.
So he decided to use Keith Alexander, so it wasn't sounding so, Brooklyn Guinea. And Peter was always fascinated. He was a wordsmith.
Oh, 100%.
He loved, and he was always fascinated with the way Teaux or Eaux was pronounced O.
Oh.
So he said, you should spell your name Beato. Just to give it like, so it kind of like, gives it an air of arrogance, but still it's pronounced the way you pronounce your name, Beato. Right. Beato. And
I'm an idiot. All these years, I'm thinking it was just pronounced Beato.
No. It was. My real name is Beato.
Right.
But
the Carnivore version is Beato.
Beato, yeah. So,
that's fucking awesome.
That was our names.
Nice. Fucking Pete.
Yeah.
And I've visited Pete several times at St. Charles at the cemetery in Long Island. I've been there a half a dozen times. So that's also part of this whole thing I do. I go visit celebrities and gangsters' graves, and I'll walk around a cemetery all day long. I've always been like that. But yeah, he's in the same cemetery as, full circle once again, the Amityville murders. The whole family plot of the DeFeo family is on the opposite side of the same cemetery. But yeah, I visited him before, and I'm sure, just like everybody else, you must have been devastated when you heard that he passed.
I couldn't believe it.
Of course, nobody could. And not to make light of either of them by any means, but even Keith, you're 41 years old and you get into bicycle accident.
Yeah.
On fucking, what was it, Shore Road or Shore Parkway? Shore Road.
Shore Road.
Yeah. 41 years old. And Pete was my age, 48.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was especially hard for me because I just lost my mom 6 weeks before.
Jeez.
As a matter of fact, you know, I mean, you know, it's no secret. Me and Pete were really close. We were friends, you know, since I met him. Spent a lot of time together.
Sure.
Our families were like, you know, family to each other. You know, he knew my parents well, and you know, spent time with us, and I spent time with his family. I mean, when he go on tour, I would come by his mom's house and see that she was okay. If he needed anything, you know, any heavy lifting things or anything like that, and you know, just check in on her on his behalf and all. And right before Pete passed, and I was grieving my mom's loss, Pete was always checking in on me. You know, and it was kind of, I mean, it was really sweet. It was, you know, it felt great that, you know, in spite of his accomplishments and this and that, that, you know, he still had that connection with me.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it got to the point where it was like opening up a wound each time he would call.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was like, I can't keep doing this, Pete. You know, and I started making excuses like, you know, at the time my son was really young. He was like, I guess close to 4 years old. And I would, you know, make time at the end of the day to go up and read him a story and put him to bed. And Pete tended to call like around 10 o'clock. It was usually his hour to call me. And I would say, you know, if I don't answer, it's because I'm putting my son to sleep, reading him a story or something like that, you know. And the day I got the phone call, I almost didn't answer because it was around that time. And I was like, I saw it was, I don't know if I saw that it was his number or if it was just that it was a Pennsylvania number or whatever. I knew it was him, you know. And I answered, and it was his girlfriend, and she told me that he passed. That, you know, and I was just like, I felt so guilty that I wasn't going to answer the phone, you know, and I couldn't, and I almost wished I didn't. But she said, I didn't want you to hear this from anybody, like, you know, social media or anything like that. You know, I wanted you to hear this as soon as, you know, you could. And I wasn't sure if, you know, anyone would think to reach out to you. You know, it crossed my mind, and I wanted to let you know. So I was grateful that she did. But yeah, it was devastating. It really was. It was, you know, you know, and I even touched upon this when I did the show with Drew, and it's like funny because in my subconscious, in my sleep, he's not dead. He's there with me. I dream of him, kind of like the way I dream of my parents. Like, you know,
Me too.
They're not dead.
Right.
You know, and it's like, and it's funny. It's like I don't even like grieve them. I in my sleep I can get irritated by them the same way if they were alive. Like, you know, weird, you know. And but it's kind of comforting in a way, like I'm agonizing in my sleep or in my subconscious, you know, thoughts that I guess, you know, having normal thoughts as if they're still here, which you know.
I get that too as well. Especially with my mother, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, she died tragically and very sudden in 2011. And I'll have a dream every once in a while. It fluctuates, but there's one that's kind of recurring. And she passed away in our summer house upstate in upstate New York. And I'll be walking down the street, and it was like a summer development, but for some reason it's the winter time, which we were very rarely up there in the winter, and all of the houses are dark. but my house is every single light is on in there, and there'd be like a party going on, like a get together of a whole bunch of people. No one that I really know or really notice or can tell you who was actually in the house, but I would go upstairs, and somewhere within the dream, in the back of my mind, I will know that my mother is gone. But then again, I'll walk in that house and she's there in flesh and blood and the same way. But somewhere in that dream, as I'm talking to her or giving her a hug, I know it's so weird how the brain works. I know that this is a dream, but I need to be in the moment and appreciate this time I have with her, because I know that when I wake up, it's a dream. So I'll be somewhat conscious that it's a dream, but then again, the other part of me is embrace this moment.
Yeah.
And we'll get into an argument, or she'll say a wisecrack to me, or she was always she was a clown, my mother. She was hysterical. So she would always, you know, we would always fuck with each other constantly. She was like one of the guys. She was like the best. And but then I would wake up and I'd be like, I would be kind of upset a little bit, but I knew it was a dream. But then again, I'll take comfort in the fact that, you know what? I was just visiting and I was just with my mother. And
it was another moment.
And it felt real.
It was another moment that was very real to you.
Yeah, it felt real in the moment.
And here's the thing that bugs me out. You tell people you had a dream like that, and then they'll tell you, yeah, I don't dream. I don't have dreams when I sleep. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're fortunate or not. I don't know. I mean, because there's some dreams I'd rather not have.
Yeah.
You know, there are dreams I wake, but I dream every fucking night. It's like, you know.
I don't remember a lot of my dreams, but I know I dream, and I'll remember some.
Yeah, I mean, there were some times I just like, wow, I can't. So glad I woke up. Like,
oh yeah, no, there's definitely some of that shit.
No. I mean, it's nothing like, you know, it's just like you find yourself in a situation that you feel like it's impossible. Like,
you know? You ever had the dream where all of a sudden, for some stupid reason, you walk across shit, you have no pants on?
Oh, that when I was younger, I had, you know, things. Like that.
Why am I naked? Holy shit! I got to grab something and like cover up, and you're naked.
Well, I'm sure there's interpretations for that.
There's an interpretation for everything.
I remember when, you know, during the time when we were watching all the shit on the news about beheadings and stuff like that, that I was dreaming that like the scene in Scarface when they were infiltrating his property at the end of the movie.
Yes.
But like terrorists. And I pictured them on my block in Jersey, like hiding behind cars and shit, like taking over the fucking neighborhood, like, and then like waking up after that, like in a cold sweat, like holy fuck.
Like that was fucking felt real, and I'm glad that shit is not.
Yeah, you know,
crazy, man.
But one of my favorite dreams, which I don't know, you know, I'm sure there's an interpretation for. I dream I can fly.
Oh, I've had that. Isn't
that great?
Yeah,
that's a great fucking dream.
Yeah, why am I flying?
That one.
Yeah, or someone's chasing you, and you're like, "All right, watch this," and you run. All of a sudden, then you take off and fly.
Man, you take off.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Well, you know what's funny? Getting back to the horror movie thing, in Nightmare on Elm Street, I'll never forget that scene when like the legs were sticking to the steps when he's trying to run. They're trying.
Yes, it did. It's a quicksand in the steps.
Oh my God, did that hit home though?
Yeah, 100%. But you ever try? You're running and you can't fucking move.
How about you trying to beat the shit out of
something? And it's nothing.
Get the fucking.
We have the same shit.
You can't fucking like. You feel like a rubber band is holding. You're trying to punch them and you can't.
Yep. That's good, bro. We had like the same dreams. It's crazy. It's true. I've had all of that shit.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Hello, is that healthy? Does that mean we're okay?
I think we're fine. If we're not fine, everyone else is fucked up. We're fine. It's the world around us. They're all jerk-offs. We're good. Oh, shit. Dude, look, this was fucking awesome, man. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to touch on? I mean, anything? I don't have to go. I really don't. I'm just looking at you. You know, I don't know what you got to do or whatever. I don't give a shit. But I just wanted to know if there's anything off the top of your head that, I don't know, that you want to touch on as far as something we didn't
you know, it's funny. I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, I don't know what kind of audience you got that's going to watch this. I mean, really, just two
Well,
guys.
no, the vast majority of people that watch and listen are all the hardcore metal people. So
Yeah, and it's
people
like, you know,
looking forward
again,
to
you know,
this.
I'm like, I got nothing to offer. It's not, there's nothing happening for me like
So
music.
what? You did enough.
You know, that's gonna, you know, grab people. I'm not endorsing anything.
Right.
You know, I endorse my friends. You
There you
know,
go.
hey, I'll put a plug in for Sal's new band,
Yes, King of the Locusts.
King of the Locusts, right? I mean, you
Yep.
know, I wish him luck with that. I always wish Sal luck. You
Yep.
know, I hope, you know, he succeeds in what he wants to do and all, you know.
Yeah.
And all my friends that are still out there doing it, Vinny, Roger, you know, the 25 different drummers that they had. You
Yeah.
know,
But they're
hey,
still,
listen, but what a cool thing. I mean,
dude.
you know, to be part of that for that one record, you know, I
It's
mean,
you
it was,
fucking
it
you
was
planted a
insane.
flag in your, like you were saying, you had 3 little short stints, but in that time frame, man, and I'm not sitting here, you know, patting you back or anything like that. But it's, I mean, a fact is a fact, man. You planted a flag. Obvious. I mean, it's obvious because you're talking about this stuff still. People still. When I put up that I'm doing an episode with you, there's people. I can't wait, can't wait, can't wait. Like people know who you are. You've impacted at this point generations of people and bands,
Yeah,
man.
that's so wild to me. It really is. It's so,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and it's funny because, you know, here you are, like, you know, I live, you know, a life that's so far removed from this scene. I
Yeah.
go to work with people who have no idea about this stuff. Like I go into the office twice a week. I'm like semi-retired. You know, I did 33 years with New York City Transit, retired, moved to Florida, was lucky enough to find a job here that pays well. I collect my pension. I only have to go in twice a week. I work 3 days from home. It's a sweet deal. So,
Beautiful.
but with that said, it's a normal life. You know, I go camping on the weekends with my wife with the trailer.
Yeah.
I love cooking outside. I love making fires. I love taking meat on a stick and, you know, on the fire. I am a true carnivore.
Yeah.
That's what I am. I make no apologies for it. I love
Ah, you're a meat
I eat
eater.
them. I don't have anything against you know, the grazing animals. They're cool. I
Yeah,
like them. They taste delicious.
they do. They absolutely do.
But you know, we live in a strange world these days now, you know, and you know, there's so many people that, you know, feel compelled to choose sides and divide us. I wish, you know, people would see the writing on the wall and see that, you know, we're being played so bad here, you know,
Uh-huh.
and there's so much division, you know. Um, we need a new common. I don't know. We need to get invaded or something. Have somebody,
Something.
something,
Something needs to
something to
happen.
bring us together, you know, because
Yeah.
we're just attacking each other, and it's not good.
Nope.
I don't, you know. I mean, you
And it's
know,
kind of what they want us to do.
yeah, it is. Of course, it
We're
is. You know,
playing right into
and
their
the
own
problem
shit.
is not, you know, people don't see it. You know,
Nope.
people don't see it, and you know, I just, you know, that's the only thing that bothers me right now, other than, you
Sure.
know, I live a comfortable life. I have, you know, I have a great loving family. I had my cake and I ate it. You know, I had my stint with music. Um, I still like the connection. I mean, you know, the social media outlets that keep me connected. It's really cool. You know, I have a lot of fun with it. The idea that people are still interested to see my stupid post about the food I made, or, you know, the
Yeah.
stupid trip I took, or whatever,
Yeah.
pictures of the camper and shit like that. You know, people dig it. You know, so what? I share my life with them.
Fine.
Whatever. This is
Yeah.
what I'm doing. This is what somebody who didn't take that full dive into music and burn all those bridges behind them and just stayed with that. You know, God bless them. I'm glad they did it. You know, it
Yeah.
just wasn't for me.
Right.
I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have, you know, somewhat of a regular life.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do. It's hard, you know, it's hard. There are sacrifices these guys make,
Of course.
for
Oh my
sure.
God.
You
Yeah.
know, and yeah, and I don't know if I have the energy to endure those sacrifices. I know I don't. So that's
Right.
why, I
It,
chose
it,
to write those. And that's where, why I'm where I'm at,
Yeah.
So like I said, it was a cool thing to be part of. I'm really proud of it. I don't make excuses for it.
you should be proud of it.
And that's it, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So,
I thank you for your contribution to music all the time.
thank
I
you.
do. I do. I mean, Carnivore was a soundtrack for a lot of years for me. I mean, a lot of years. And like I said early on, I listen to it more often than I don't. You know what I mean? I went down a Carnivore rabbit hole over the last, especially like over the last week or so, when I knew that you were going to come on. I'm like, I'm going to start. And it's not that I didn't listen to it for a long time. I must have listened to the first record maybe like a month and a half ago from front to back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The 7,000th time I've ever heard it.
Yeah.
Like, all right, he's coming on now. Now I got to go both of them. Make sure I go onto YouTube, listen to the Subhuman, and listen to Ground Zero Brooklyn, and all the other deeper cuts, I guess you could say, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I went down the rabbit hole, and it still holds up. It's still awesome. It brings back great memories, and yeah, man. So from me,
I guess I would just say, do you have any questions for me at this point? Like,
oh Jesus, I don't know, man. I mean, we could go off on fucking like actual real questions. No, not really. I mean,
all right, then that's cool.
Yeah, it's
listen, I mean, now that we've become well acquainted, you could always hit me up. You got my number.
I do, and you got my number as well. I locked you in my phone. And listen, if there's any time, I mean, we can bullshit whatever off of here or whatever, but if there's any other time that you feel, I don't know, you want to come on and bullshit or go into maybe a specific thing or whatever and record again with me just to shoot the shit again, dude, just hit me up. Hey, I feel like maybe I want to talk about this a little. You got it when you want to do it. You know what I mean? You got an open door here, man. I'll bullshit with you all day. This is the first time I'm ever having a conversation with you. We're going on 3 hours. It feels like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
we're two caquerones.
Two caquerones, man. We don't come up for air for nothing. My mother used to call me that all the time. Caqueron, you're a cac all the time. Because I don't shut the fuck up, man. Ever. I never do. I don't know. Fuck, man. But yeah, dude, listen, this was incredible. At first, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to sit here, and say anything but I was a little nervous. I was like, I don't want to go over the same, the Carnivore, this and that, and then harp on the same thing over and over because, I don't know, I just felt like I'd be just rehashing and just like the same old stuff. So I'm glad that, we started talking about Marine Park and stupid Banner Glass and Goodfellas and fucking the Goodfellas in New Rochelle. And we were all over the place, and it was cool that it wasn't just music based. It was like I said earlier, it's like we're sitting at a diner and we're just fucking chewing the fat.
Yeah, that's what made me comfortable. I said, you know what? This is when he said it's not an interview, it's just like hanging out bullshit. And I said, I could do that.
Yeah, there's no roadmap. We were all over the place. We were talking about from Animal Hall to fucking Kingsborough.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like I said, when I heard you mention Animal Hall, I think when you were talking with Paris, and I said, yeah, I got to bring that up because I don't think people realize how that actually got started.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
How it, really, it's like I said, it's funny how life, certain people come in and out of your life, at certain time, and kind of like, put you on a track that takes you to the rest of your life. You know what I mean?
It's crazy, isn't it?
Weird, I mean, again, when I think about my family and where I am now, I think about the fact that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for knowing Peter, because his girlfriend introduced me to my wife.
There you go. And that's a fact. That's one thing.
So that one thing, that one path, that one fork in the road, brought me to the rest of my life, and
I find myself thinking about this because obviously you how old are you? 59?
60.
So I'm 60. So I'm 48. So even as I get older, I find myself doing the same thing, like really analyzing, not really harping on, but really thinking about certain little tiny things, whether it was a chance meeting of a person or a particular job I had at a certain point or a decision that I made that completely just without even realizing it, thinking it's just a whatever, and then it just turns you into this crazy path. And I've been doing that a lot lately also because, like I mentioned before, I'm writing this book. So, and I have no business having the memory that I do. I really have a ridiculous memory, and I have a lot of like, I was always the guy in the early 90s with a fucking disposable camera. And I don't know why, but everyone will be like, why do you have a camera? I'm in a bar somewhere, whatever, in Vic's Moonbeam in 1992 with a disposable camera. But the people that would give me shit back then that I'm still in contact with always want to see those pictures now. But I have like all the ticket stubs and a million flyers and stuff like that. So even if I was a little stumped at a certain time frame, I always go back into the deep state files, into my archives, and I could piece things together to make it more accurate. So as I'm going through this process of writing this book, it starts off from my grandparents a little bit, to my parents a little bit, to the birth of my sister, then me in 75. And then I kill the book off in October of 2014. Because that's, for all intents and purposes, that's when I got sober.
Wow.
So there's a lot of craziness and commotion and moving around, and there's a lot going on. So sometimes I have to put myself back in that moment, and I'm recalling everything. Sometimes literally in certain situations, second by second. You know what I mean? I'm in a room and this person's here. This song is playing. What it smells like. I feel like there's going to be a problem. Like there's a lot of things going on. So my brain is getting exercise, and I've been thinking about those decisions and those little chance encounters with people that put me on a certain path.
Sounds like the detail of a Tom Clancy novel.
Yeah, there it is.
Wow.
That's
crazy, man. That's crazy. I mean, just sorting out these thoughts on paper.
It's not easy. Certain things are. Sometimes I feel like a psychopath when I'm writing, and I'll get into a groove, and I'll just be writing about, and I'm typing all this. It's on, I'm like 626 pages in typed. Okay. Yeah. And I have 4 years left to write about. My daughter is just born, and I'm moving out of Brooklyn to go back to Jersey. I think this is when I get my New Jersey phone number at this point in the book. But, and then I kill it off. But I know it's going to be edited down like crazy, but it's just, it's a crazy thing to go through. And like I said, it'll be like 1993. And that's when times were really fun, but they were chaotic, but it was all fun and innocent shit. I'm like, 17, 18 years old, and things will be going on. I'll be typing it, and I'll literally be laughing out loud by myself in my apartment at the stupid shit that I used to do, laughing out loud. And then there's some times where there would be something not good that happens, or tragic or sad, or a friend gets killed or something like that. And it's a little bit harder to write about, not necessarily emotionally, but just to be able to word it properly so that the person reading it can understand fully everything that's going on around me while this other shit happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm getting to a point now where there's not much real chaos right now, but then I'm about to, probably within the next 6 months of where I'm at right now in the book, I start drinking again. And then I wasn't out of control yet. I knew I would have eventually, but even if nothing would have happened, but right after I started to drink, that's when my mother passed away. And then there was, from my drinking, and then there was problems between me and my wife, and then me and my stepfather, and then me and my sister. And then all of this crazy shit goes down, and it gets super, 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 super dark. I'm not looking forward to writing all of it, but I have to, because I'm ending the book off on when I get sober and on a positive note. Between the ups and the downs and the peaks and the valleys and all the cliche shit, the roller coaster ride of everything, that I could actually, that's why the working title of the book is Relatively Unscathed, because I walked out relatively, because no one ever said I was fucking normal, Louie. But But I'm here and I'm standing. I'm on my own 2 feet. I pay my own way. I make a nice living. I have a really great job. I have an amazing relationship with my ex-wife still. She's getting remarried and it's all good. I'm cool with him too. There's no drama there. I have an awesome relationship with my daughter and I have no drama in my life. So from where I was, and I don't pat myself on the back a lot, but eventually, like I wound up living in the back of my truck with nowhere to go. Nothing. I had nothing. So for me to be where I'm at right now and doing the things that I did in order to get where I'm at, like there's no turning back. Like life is way too good. You know what I mean? I don't miss none of that shit. And it actually scares me. You know, I think
that's the journey you took brought you to where you are now. So
100%.
And that's the reason why it's good to hear that you'll end the book and continue your life
Right.
on a positive note,
Yeah.
because of the motivation you have to maintain that course. Because you've seen the dark side, you've seen, and you don't want to go back there.
Oh,
So,
no, right.
To say, do you have regrets about how, would you change anything? And, maybe initially you would say yes, but if you changed something, would that give you the awareness that you have now?
Right. I think about that kind of shit all the time, man. All the time.
So that's, that's why life is what it is. Life, doesn't come with instructions, man. You kind of have to just, do your best and learn from your mistakes and try to do better.
That's it.
And that's it.
That's all we can do.
Yeah, man.
That's it. Stay positive and do what you got to do. And that's that.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah, man. So once it's all done, I think I'll probably wind up being done with my first rough draft. I'm going to say the beginning of April, maybe. I don't have a time limit or a time frame or anything or a deadline, but I have an incredible editor that I met through a guy that I do this whole film exploration thing. His name is Patrick Labruto. This guy is a well respected since 1969. He's an editor. It's his career. He edited The Stand from Stephen King. He edited Pet Sematary and about a dozen or 15 Dean Koontz books and a whole bunch of other shit. So I worked out a little deal with him. He actually started to like me. I was introduced. He's in Maryland now, but he was originally from Brooklyn. So he heard my stupid voice on the phone. And next thing you know, we had that Brooklyn connection thing, and he took a liking to me. So we worked out a ridiculous deal, and he gets if it gets picked up by a publisher or whatever, awesome. I'm not expecting anything. I'm doing this because I could do it. But he's editing the whole thing, and he will throw in, he's going to pitch it, and I will go with him to the big publishers and then the independents and see what happens. But yeah, so I'm going to say April is when he already has like 560 pages of it, and he's just about done looking it over, and then I'm going to send him the rest when I'm done. And then from there, I'm sure there's 5 different stages of editing for the whole thing. I'm sure there's going to be some rewrites and a couple of things. A lot of it's going to get chopped out, I'm sure. There's going to be things moved around. But my job, for all intents and purposes, I'm looking probably sometime in April, probably early April. And then it's pretty much out of my hands after that for the most part. And then we'll just see what happens. Who knows? Maybe all the bullshit that I went through and I did and happened and all that shit. Maybe it's because now I'm writing this book because of all that. It's basically, it took me almost my entire life to write the book.
Yeah. And maybe somebody will read it and it'll give them hope and a different path to take, or at least, a reason to think that they can turn themselves around and,
and it's a win.
Be in a better place, So yeah, if you're able to, if your story is able to reach out to at least one other person, it's worth it.
The win.
Right?
Yeah, buddy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Well, listen, once again, this is incredible. And I'll let you go because I gotta piss like a fucking pack mule.
Me too, man. I'm glad I didn't get a bottle of water.
I'm like, I got a glass over here. Is he gonna know that I'm pissing the glass? Yeah. Louie, thank you so much, man. And this was awesome to like formally, like, it's not technically in person, but to formally meet you and have this conversation because we never spoke before like this before. But this was awesome. I feel like I know you my whole life at this point already.
Yeah, that's why I said I feel like we're cut from the same cloth.
100%.
All right,
Yeah,
glad,
man.
glad to do it, and
I will let you know when this comes out. It probably be within the next few days. I'll put it up. I'll tag you on the social media and whatever. You could share it or whatever. Did you like the flyer I created?
Yeah, it looked really cool. I like all the little tidbits in the background.
Yeah, I kind of incorporated your whole musical background in it. There's you with the axe, and then there's, the Fallout Girl and
Just noticed something though, Jim. Right here in the bottom of where it says my name, Martine Beato.
Yeah,
that's my wife, not me.
I was gonna say that when we first started, but we just started bullshitting, and I kind of forgot about it. I figured it was like your wife or your daughter or something. Awesome.
Yeah, I usually do Zoom with my work computer, but I didn't want to do this on my work computer, so
yeah,
I just picked up my wife's laptop for this. So
that's cool. We'll forget about that. It's all good. Louie, thank you, my man, and we'll be in touch, man. Stay in touch, seriously.
All right, you too.
If you ever find yourself back up in New York, we got to go to Joseph Avenue on me.
Man. That might happen sooner than you think.
Rice Bowl specials on me. Let's do it.
Take it easy.
You too, buddy. Bye.